The ancient world is a puzzle with pieces scattered across deserts, mountains, and oceans. Lost tombs sealed for thousands of years. Monuments aligned with celestial patterns no one can explain. Artifacts that seem to come from a technology history says should not exist. In this video, we uncover some of the greatest unsolved mysteries of antiquity, journeys into forgotten civilizations, encounters with relics that defy logic, and secrets that may change everything we know about humanity's past. High above the turquoise waves of the Mediterranean, where sheer limestone cliffs rise like ancient sentinels, an extraordinary sight stops travelers in their tracks: the Lycian rock-cut tombs. Hewn directly into the mountainside over 2 millennia ago, these tombs defy gravity and time, their facades carved with a precision that still baffles modern engineers. They are more than resting places for the dead. They are messages in stone from a lost civilization, whispering secrets that the centuries have refused to reveal. What do you think drove the Lycians to build such perilous and intricate tombs? Faith, power, or some other hidden reason? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Lycians, an ancient community living in the Anatolia region, reached their peak of prosperity around the 5th century BCE. They possessed a unique cultural identity, unlike any neighboring empires such as Persia or Greece, though they still absorbed some influence from these civilizations. In their belief, death was not the end, but the beginning of a journey to another world. Lycian spirituality was intertwined with myths of winged beings, guides who would carry the soul from the tomb to the eternal realm. This faith may have been the driving force behind their bold decision to build tombs on sheer cliff faces where it seemed possible to reach out and touch the sky. This was not merely an unusual architectural choice, but also a powerful statement about the connection between humanity, the divine, and the cosmos. The rock-cut tombs of the Lycians were carved directly into limestone cliffs, with facades intricately imitating ancient wooden architecture, triangular gabled roofs, slender columns, and reliefs depicting the life victories or rituals of the deceased. The most prominent is the tomb of Amintas in Fethiye, which astonishes with its scale and remarkable level of detail. Standing at the foot of the cliff and looking up, visitors feel as though they are facing an ancient Greek temple fused into the mountain, combining the flawless beauty of human craftsmanship with the majestic power of nature. This union creates a rare architectural symbol where stone and faith merge as one, defying both time and gravity. Most Lycian tombs are located in places that are nearly inaccessible, on sheer cliff faces or steep mountain slopes overlooking the sea. Transporting tools, materials, and carrying out intricate carvings in such treacherous locations was an extremely dangerous challenge, even with modern technology. This has led many archaeologists to believe that the tomb's placement carried a sacred meaning rather than a practical purpose. The Lycians believed that the closer to the sky, the easier it was for the soul to embark on its journey to the afterlife. Thus, positioning tombs on precarious heights, facing the sea or valleys, was both a display of power and a solemn farewell ritual for the deceased. During the period of trade and strong influence from ancient Greece, the architectural style of the Lycian rock-cut tombs underwent a clear transformation. Many tombs incorporated distinctive Doric or Ionic elements, elegant triangular pediments, and finely fluted columns, reminiscent of Greek temples. However, the interiors retained the typical layout and chamber structure of Lycia, reflecting how they harmoniously blended foreign refinement with local tradition. This was not mere imitation, but a process of selective creativity resulting in a unique style that felt both familiar and entirely distinct. The mysteries surrounding the Lycian rock-cut tombs remain one of the most hotly debated topics in the fields of archaeology and ancient history. Despite decades of research, scholars have yet to provide satisfactory answers to a series of crucial questions, turning this necropolis into a cold case of the past. The first and perhaps most striking mystery is, why did the Lycians choose such incredibly perilous locations to build their tombs? If the goal was simply to honor the dead or protect them from grave robbers, they could have constructed sturdy tombs on level ground. Instead, they carved directly into sheer cliff faces at heights where even standing would have been a challenge. This work required a large labor force, extended time, and extraordinary courage. Some theories suggest that the location was not only a symbol of power, but also carried cosmic spiritual significance, potentially linked to constellations, astronomical cycles, or soul-guiding rituals intended to ensure the deceased's smooth passage to the afterlife. The second mystery involves construction and carving techniques. Over 2,000 years ago, how could the Lycians create smooth facades, symmetrical columns, and intricate designs in hard limestone, often with almost no foothold? Some theories propose they used wooden scaffolding pulley systems and special anchoring methods, but to this day, no definitive archaeological evidence has confirmed the exact process. Even more astonishing, maintaining precise proportions while carving high above the ground where visibility is limited would challenge modern technology, let alone the rudimentary tools of the ancient world. This raises the question, could they have possessed technical knowledge now lost to history? The third mystery concerns the identity of those buried. The common theory is that these tombs were reserved for nobles or leaders. However, field surveys reveal significant variation in size and craftsmanship. Some tombs are grand and elaborately decorated, while others are small and simple. This has led many scholars to suspect that burial here was not determined solely by social rank. It may have been reserved for individuals with special roles in the community's spiritual life, such as shamans, priests, or revered heroes. These three questions, though, explored over generations of research, still lack definitive answers. It is precisely the silence of history and the gaps in scientific understanding that make the Lycian rock-cut tombs so compelling, as if each cliff face and every carved line still guards the secrets of a lost civilization, challenging human curiosity across the millennia. Today, the Lycian rock-cut tombs have become one of Turkey's most famous archaeological and tourist destinations, attracting not only travelers but also researchers from around the world. Despite thousands of years of weathering, the intricate carvings still have the power to tell the story of a vanished civilization. At sunset, when the last rays of daylight bathe the cliffs in gold, the entire necropolis seems to glow, creating a scene that is both majestic and imbued with an unforgettable sense of mystery. Each time one looks up at the cliffside tombs, it's not only the craftsmanship of the Lycians that's visible, but also the silence of history, a silence guarding answers we still long to find. Perhaps it is precisely these unanswered mysteries that keep the Lycian rock-cut tombs alive in our imagination as symbols of pride, creativity, and eternal enigma. It began like any ordinary workday in the summer of 1984, until a peat cutter's shovel struck something that would rewrite a chapter of British history. Beneath the dark, waterlogged earth of Lindow Moss in Cheshire lay not just a fragment of human flesh, but a time capsule from over 2,000 years ago. What emerged from the peat was shockingly intact skin hair, even fingerprints, as if the man had only just fallen asleep in the bog. Yet the truth was far darker. This was no peaceful death, but the violent end of a man whose story straddled the line between ritual sacrifice and brutal execution. Today, the world knows him as Lindow Man, a haunting relic of the Celtic past and one of archaeology's most enduring enigmas. What do you think truly happened to Lindow Man? Was he an honored sacrifice to the gods or the victim of a ruthless execution? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your theory might reveal a new angle to this ancient mystery. What makes Lindow Man stand out from most other archaeological discoveries is the near-perfect preservation of his body after more than 2 millennia. The peat bog environment at Lindow Moss is highly acidic, almost devoid of oxygen, and maintains a stable temperature conditions ideal for completely inhibiting the activity of bacteria, mold, and insects, which would normally destroy soft tissue in a short time. As a result, his skin remained intact. His hair and beard still showed a reddish-brown color, and even his fingerprints were preserved. Upon close examinations, scientists found that his beard had been neatly shaved, his fingernails were clean and well maintained. These details reveal that before his death, he was not only well-groomed, but may also have been prepared for a special event, something that hardly aligns with the idea of a random or unexpected death, and instead suggests a formal or ritual context that had been arranged in advance. The forensic examination results shocked the entire research team. Lindow Man did not die from illness or accident, but was the victim of a brutal and deliberate execution. His skull bore a large fracture from a heavy blow powerful enough to cause instant unconsciousness or severe disorientation. Deep marks from a cord were clearly visible on his neck, indicating he had been strangled until he suffocated. Not stopping there, a stab wound through the throat revealed the final, fatal strike. These 3 distinct forms of injury occurred almost simultaneously or in rapid succession, matching perfectly with descriptions of the threefold death ritual in Celtic belief. According to this ancient tradition, taking a life in 3 different ways was thought to please multiple gods at once, or ensure the acceptance of the community's prayers. This has led many researchers to believe that his death was not merely an act of punishment, but a carefully prepared religious ritual. During analysis, scientists discovered that Lindow Man's final meal was barley porridge mixed with charred seeds, a dish believed to hold ceremonial significance, often associated with ancient sacrificial rites. More notably, his body showed no signs of heavy labor, his fingernails were well trimmed and smooth, his skin well cared for, and his beard clean shaven. These details suggest that he may have belonged to the nobility, tribal leadership, or a religious class, rather than being an ordinary farmer. The combination of a ritual meal and a carefully prepared appearance strongly reinforces the theory that his death was tied to a formal religious ceremony rather than the result of a common act of violence. The discovery of Lindow Man opened a rare window into directly observing life in England during the 1st century AD, just before the Roman Empire's invasion. From this almost perfectly preserved body, archaeologists have been able to determine his clothing style, diet, religious practices, and even his social status. In a context where most information about the Celts of this period comes from Roman records, often prone to bias and distortion, Lindow Man serves as a silent witness, helping to fill the gaps in the historical picture and providing a more authentic view of pre-Roman society. Even after decades of research, the true motive behind Lindow Man's death remains an unsolved mystery, and each theory opens up different possibilities, making the story all the more haunting. Many researchers lean toward the idea that this was a large-scale sacrificial ritual dedicated to the gods, The manner of his killing, a heavy blow to the head, strangulation with a cord, and a stab through the neck, matches almost perfectly with the threefold death ritual described in Celtic legend, believed to appease multiple deities at once. If this theory is correct, the big question is, who was Lindow Man to be chosen for such a significant ceremony? Was he a tribal leader, a powerful druid, or a sacred prisoner offered as a sacrifice? Another line of reasoning suggests he was executed for betraying his tribe or committing a grave offense against religious law. In ancient societies, the boundary between punishment and ritual was often blurred. He may have been killed both as a warning and as a way to purify his soul before crossing into the afterlife. Some anthropologists even believe his death could have been part of a leadership transition ritual in which an outgoing leader voluntarily gave up his life to ensure the tribe's prosperity, good harvests, and stability. If true, this was not just a killing, but a sacred contract between humans and the divine. There is also the view that his death resulted from a combination of overlapping causes. He may have been injured in a conflict and then finished off in multiple ways, unintentionally creating a form of threefold death that later generations interpreted as ceremonial. What deepens the mystery is that Lindow Man was not buried in a grave according to custom, but placed in a bog considered a sacred gateway in many Celtic cultures where the boundary between the living world and the afterlife was believed to meet. Was this the highest honor for one chosen by the gods, or an eternal punishment trapping his soul between two worlds? That question remains unanswered to this day. And perhaps it is precisely this ambiguity that makes the story of Lindow Man one of the most compelling mysteries in British archaeology. Today, parts of Lindow Man's body are displayed at the British Museum, attracting millions of visitors each year. He is not just a bog body, but a symbol of the connection between science and history, between archaeological discovery and untold stories. Even with modern technology, from DNA analysis to 3D CT scanning, revealing many details about his life and death, the true motive remains like mist over the Cheshire Bog, shifting, alluring, but never fully revealed. Perhaps it is this silence that ensures Lindow Man will forever remain one of the most captivating mysteries in British archaeology. Perched high in the Andes at nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, the Marcahuasi Plateau is more than just a windswept stretch of ancient granite. It is a stage where stone whispers secrets from a forgotten age. Only a few hours from Lima, yet feeling as though it belongs to another world entirely. This remote expanse is littered with towering rock formations that defy explanation. Faces frozen in eternal gazes, animals seemingly mid-stride, and shapes that mirror mythical beings emerge from the stone, as if chiseled by an unseen hand. Whether the work of nature's patient artistry or the legacy of a civilization lost to time, Marcahuasi stands as one of the most tantalizing and mysterious landscapes on Earth. What do you think about the mysterious rock formations at Marcahuasi? Are they simply nature's masterpieces, or evidence of an ancient civilization long lost to history? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Perched atop the mountains of the Huarochirí region near the small town of San Pedro de Casta, the Marcahuasi Plateau is completely isolated from the pace of modern life. The journey to reach it is anything but easy. Travelers must navigate winding, treacherous mountain roads, endure thin air at nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, and face sudden shifts in weather. Bright sunshine can quickly give way to dense fog and biting winds. This remote location has protected Marcahuasi from most human interference for thousands of years, preserving its wild and mysterious beauty. Ancient granite formed millions of years ago spreads across the plateau, creating a majestic natural stage where strange rock formations, still sparking debate worldwide, stand proudly against the sky. What makes the Marcahuasi Plateau famous is its dense concentration of hundreds of massive rock formations that strongly evoke the shapes of humans, animals, and even mythical creatures. Among the most striking are the Monument to Humanity, a colossal rock that perfectly resembles a human face carved into the horizon, the African Queen, a woman's face with delicate, graceful features, and others such as the Inca, the seal, the tortoise, and the prophet, each bearing its own distinct personality and expression. The controversy lies in the fact that many of these shapes are so clear and precise that it's hard to believe they are merely the products of natural erosion. The lines, proportions, and the way the details align give the impression of having been shaped by the hands of colossal artisans from an ancient age. This blurred boundary between natural formation and possible human intervention has made Marcahuasi one of the most captivating archaeological mysteries in the world. The scientific debate over the origin of the rock formations on the Marcahuasi Plateau remains one of the most heated topics among researchers. Geologists argue that these are the result of millions of years of natural weathering as wind, rain, frost, and constant temperature changes gradually eroded the granite, creating unusual lines and shapes. They point out that similar phenomena can be found in many other parts of the world, such as the Elephant Rock in Iceland or Table Rock in Madagascar, proving that nature alone is capable of producing forms that strongly evoke familiar images without any human intervention. On the other hand, proponents of alternative theories argue that the clarity, symmetry, and symbolic quality of the Marcahuasi rocks are unlikely to be mere coincidence. They emphasize the harmonious proportions, intricate details, and the sense of deliberate design in each contour, suggesting the possible existence of a prehistoric civilization, perhaps tens of thousands of years before the Inca, that carved these figures to preserve memories or convey messages to future generations. Beyond its archaeological value, the Marcahuasi Plateau is also regarded as a place with a distinctly spiritual aura. Many pilgrims believe that it harbors a form of special energy, possibly a magnetic or energetic field that directly affects the body and mind. Numerous visitors who have spent the night on the plateau speak of unusually vivid dreams, a sensation of time slowing down, and even sightings of mysterious flickering lights in the night sky, all of which add to the mystique of this remarkable land. One of the most captivating hypotheses about the Marcahuasi Plateau suggests that it is actually a stone library left behind by an ancient civilization. According to this view, each rock is not merely a random shape, but a massive page depicting human faces from various ethnic groups, forms of animals from across different continents, and even creatures that have long been extinct. If this hypothesis is true, it would completely change the way we understand history, indicating that our distant ancestors may have possessed global knowledge and an awareness of Earth's biodiversity long before recorded civilizations emerged. The most mysterious aspect and the very core of what makes the Marcahuasi Plateau one of the world's greatest archaeological enigmas lies in the fact that after decades of research, no widely accepted answer has ever been reached. Countless questions still hang in the air, challenging both the scientific community and passionate explorers. If these formations were created by humans, who were the artisans who made them? When did they live? And with what tools could they carve some of the hardest granite on Earth at a harsh altitude of nearly 4,000 meters? If they are entirely natural, why do so many shapes appear so clear, symmetrical, and symbolically rich. Could it be that ancient people took advantage of natural forms, then refined and enhanced them to convey a message? And if they truly hold a message, who was it meant for future generations, or perhaps an extraterrestrial civilization? Modern science has attempted multiple methods: isotope dating, high-resolution 3D scanning, and microstructural surface analysis, yet all have yielded inconclusive results. No definitive tool marks have been found, but the possibility of human intervention cannot be entirely dismissed. This very uncertainty has become fertile ground for a wide range of theories, from purely geological explanations to mystical stories of UFOs, lost technologies, or cosmic messages. For many, it is precisely this absence of a final answer that keeps Marcahuasi alive in the imagination, a reminder that even with all our scientific progress, there are still shadowed corners of the past we have yet to touch. Today, the Marcahuasi Plateau is both a renowned trekking destination and an open-air laboratory for geologists, archaeologists, and proponents of alternative theories. On this high and rugged land, the massive rock formations are not merely an impressive landscape, but also a vivid testament to the limits of current human knowledge, a reminder that some mysteries remain beyond our reach even with advanced technology. It is the absence of a definitive answer that has made Marcahuasi an endless source of inspiration, attracting everyone from scientists seeking truth, explorers craving adventure, and pilgrims in search of energy, to those who simply wish to stand amid this ancient sea of stone and feel the grandeur and stillness left behind by time. Beneath the blanket of ash that Mount Vesuvius rained down on Pompeii in 79 AD lies a room almost forgotten by time. Yet it is precisely this oblivion that has turned it into a priceless treasure. On the four walls of the Villa of the Mysteries, the frescoes of the god Dionysus still blaze as if they were completed only yesterday, the fiery Pompeian red, the figures so vivid they seem ready to step out of the paintings. This is not merely a miraculously preserved masterpiece of Roman wall art, but also a gateway into a mysterious world of ritual where every brushstroke hides questions that have never been answered. What do you think these frescoes were truly meant for? A real sacred initiation, a symbolic life journey, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The first striking aspect of the Dionysus frescoes lies in their grand scale and near-perfect state of preservation. The room housing them is about 17 meters long, with all four walls completely covered by a continuous sequence of scenes, creating an enclosed artistic space in which viewers are surrounded by the visual narrative from every angle. The walls bear the distinctive Pompeian red, still vivid after nearly 2,000 years, highlighting figures rendered with masterful color-blending techniques that give depth and a rare sense of vitality. Thanks to the protective layer of volcanic ash, even the smallest details remain intact, allowing modern researchers not only to appreciate the artistic beauty, but also to analyze the painting techniques, stylistic choices, and symbolic elements contained within features that rarely survive so well in most ancient wall art. In terms of content, the fresco series draws directly from Greco-Roman mythology, centering on the figure of Dionysus in Greek, or Bacchus in Roman, the god of wine fertility, ecstasy, and mysterious rites. Across the walls, the consecutive scenes evoke the image of a secret religious ceremony, possibly a Bacchic initiation, an initiation rite for those joining the cult of Dionysus. The figures are depicted with clear progressions in emotion and action, from initial shyness and uncertainty to facing trials and finally reaching a moment of spiritual liberation and immersion in ecstatic unity. This transformation makes viewers feel as though they are witnessing a complete spiritual journey. For many archaeologists and art historians, this is a rare visual testament to the mystery cults, secretive religious groups that existed alongside official Roman religion, but were rarely documented in detail. However, what makes the Dionysus frescoes especially unique and has captured scholarly attention for decades is the mystery of their purpose. Despite countless studies, the question why was this room decorated with such a sequence of frescoes remains unanswered. One of the most widely accepted theories among scholars suggests that this room was truly a ceremonial space where women, possibly the daughter or wife of the villa's owner, underwent initiation rites into the worship of Dionysus. In Roman culture, such rituals were shrouded in absolute secrecy, reserved only for the chosen few, and often revolved around symbolic themes such as death and rebirth, spiritual transformation, and the divine power of the god of wine. On the walls, every detail is rendered with great precision. Women with veiled faces, a sign of sacred anonymity. Frenzied Bacchic dances, symbolizing states of ecstasy. And Dionysus himself, reclining with a dreamy gaze, evoking the sense of a divine realm beyond ordinary perception. Together, these elements form a vivid tableau of a lost and mysterious rite. Some scholars offer a completely different perspective, suggesting that this series of frescoes is not a depiction of an actual religious ceremony, but rather a work of symbolic, decorative art. In their view, the entire wall is arranged like a story scroll illustrating the life journey of a Roman woman. The narrative begins with the image of an innocent young girl, followed by scenes of trials, suffering, and emotional turmoil, and ultimately culminating in maturity and fulfillment in marriage. The presence of Dionysus in this context is not purely religious. It also serves as a symbol of pleasure, fertility, and complete joy in family life, reflecting the ideal of happiness and prosperity for women in ancient Roman society. Another theory suggests that this series of frescoes was created with the purpose of providing reassurance and spiritual protection for the homeowner. In ancient Roman belief, images of gods and mystical rituals were not only valued for their artistic beauty, but also regarded as invisible talismans capable of warding off misfortune and safeguarding the family's prosperity. If this is true, the room may never have been used for actual ceremonies, but instead was designed as a sacred space where Dionysus and other mystical figures would remain eternally present on the walls, serving as a protective wall of the spirit, guarding and bringing peace to those living in the villa. One factor that makes deciphering the true meaning of the Dionysus frescoes so complex is the continuous storytelling technique employed by the artist. There is no clear beginning or ending. Instead, viewers can start reading the story from any point on the wall and still sense the seamless flow of events. The figures are portrayed with subtle shifts in emotion and movement, connected through light, shadow, and deep perspective, turning the entire room into a vivid, theatrical stage. This openness gives rise to countless interpretations, as each scholar, depending on their starting point and perspective, can envision an entirely different story or message. The mystery cults of the ancient Greco-Roman world left almost no detailed records due to their closed and absolutely secretive nature. Rituals, oaths, symbols, and purposes were passed down orally among members and never openly documented. As a result, even if the frescoes at the Villa of the Mysteries truly depict an actual ceremony, outsiders, including today's scholars, still find it extremely difficult to fully grasp the layers of meaning, the hidden rules, and the spiritual messages that the ancients deliberately conveyed through each visual detail. The mystery of the purpose of the Dionysus frescoes thus remains one of the most intriguing open questions in classical archaeology. It reflects not only our gaps in knowledge about Roman spiritual life, but also sparks curiosity about how art can both preserve and conceal information. For researchers, every detail in the paintings, from a figure's stance to an exchanged glance to the arrangement of colors, could be a key to a new hypothesis. Today, the Dionysus frescoes are not only an invaluable archaeological treasure, but also a symbol of Pompeii, a city frozen in time through which the past still whispers its stories. Visitors stepping into this room often feel an unusual atmosphere, solemn yet enchanting, as if standing at the threshold of a lost spiritual world. Perhaps it is this ambiguity, this inability to pin down their true purpose, that has allowed the frescoes to transcend the status of mere artwork and become an immortal mystery in human history. Hidden within the thick mists of the northern Andes in Peru, the Chachapoya civilization, also known as the Warriors of the Cloud, once existed as one of the most enigmatic and least understood ancient societies in South America before being conquered by the Inca Empire in the 15th century. Among the relics left behind, nothing is more intriguing than the Chachapoya ceremonial heads, ritual heads that combine artistic beauty with an unsettling aura. They appear scattered among cliffside hanging tombs, inside damp caves, or in isolated ceremonial sites on high plateaus. Some were made from real human heads meticulously prepared. Others were sculpted from clay, depicting human faces in such detail that they seem almost alive. Red or black paint was applied to the eye's mouth, or geometric designs on the forehead and cheeks, creating a powerful impression, part warning, part protective charm. Do you think the Chachapoya ceremonial heads were truly war trophies or sacred ritual objects with deep spiritual meaning? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Your perspective might just open a new path towards solving this mystery. The Chachapoya ceremonial heads were by no means crude creations. They showcased the remarkable technical skill and aesthetic sensibility of the Chachapoya people. In examples made from real human heads, the base of the skull was often hollowed out and replaced with rope or wooden rods for hanging, while the scalp was specially treated to preserve the facial features. Sometimes material was stuffed inside to maintain a rounded shape. This demonstrates their mastery of both biological preservation techniques and visual presentation. For those crafted from clay or stone, Chachapoya artisans meticulously carved every detail, from the wrinkles at the corners of the eyes to the contour of the nose and the curve of the lips, creating the impression of facing a real human visage. Such refinement suggests these were not merely generic symbols, but possibly reconstructions of specific individuals' likenesses, holding unique meaning in rituals or acts of commemoration. The role of the Chachapoya ceremonial heads has long been a subject of lively debate among archaeologists, with various theories reflecting the complexity of Chachapoya culture. One perspective suggests they were symbols of victory, created from the severed heads of defeated enemies to assert military strength and send a warning to rivals, much like the trophy head tradition found in many other South American cultures. A second theory leans towards spiritual and sacrificial purposes, viewing them as offerings to the gods to ensure good harvests, ward off disease, drought, or supernatural forces. In many Andean cultures, human heads were believed to hold the soul or power of the deceased. Possessing or displaying them was thought to grant the community invisible protection. Notably, their presence in tombs, especially those of the elite, also suggests they may have served as spiritual guardians, guiding and protecting the soul on its journey to the afterlife. The Chachapoya ceremonial heads are often found in the distinctive hanging tombs of the Chachapoya people, precariously situated on sheer cliff faces and far from any settlements. Even with modern climbing technology and equipment, reaching these sites remains extremely dangerous, indicating that centuries ago, the Chachapoya deliberately placed them in locations that were nearly inaccessible, perhaps to protect them from grave robbers or to preserve their absolute sacredness. In addition, some artifacts have been discovered in deep humid caves where unique environmental conditions have preserved skin and hair intact for centuries. This exceptional preservation opens the door to DNA and chemical analyses, allowing researchers to reconstruct the geographic origins and kinship of the individuals connected to these artifacts, offering deeper insights into the life and social structure of the Chachapoya people. For decades of research, archaeologists have yet to reach a unified conclusion about the true purpose of the Chachapoya ceremonial heads. The complexity of the evidence, combined with the absence of direct records from the Chachapoya themselves, has made this one of the most fascinating mysteries of the pre-Columbian Andes. One key question is whether these artifacts are actual human heads or merely symbolic models. Some examples were clearly crafted from real skulls and treated human skin, showing a tangible, authentic element in the ritual. Yet many others are simply sculptures made from clay or stone. This raises the issue: did they serve the same function, or were they used in entirely different ceremonies? Or perhaps they stand as evidence of an evolving Chachapoya belief system over time. Equally contentious is the question of their nature: war trophies or spiritual objects. If they were war trophies, why would they appear inside the tombs of the Chachapoya themselves, rather than being displayed publicly to intimidate enemies? Conversely, if they held spiritual meaning, what significance did the use of real human heads have within their views on the soul, death, and protection? Furthermore, their connection to other civilizations, particularly the Inca, remains an enigma. It is possible these heads were products of cultural fusion, blending indigenous traditions with outside influences, but no conclusive evidence confirms this. In addition, the geometric patterns, painted colors, and placement of the ceremonial heads seem to hold a special symbolic language. Yet to this day, that code remains undeciphered. The fact that the Chachapoya left no written records, combined with the reliance on Inca and Spanish accounts, often distorted by political or religious motives, makes the search for truth feel like navigating a historical labyrinth where each clue only opens the door to more questions. Today, the Chachapoya ceremonial heads have become the focus of interdisciplinary research, combining archaeology, anthropology, molecular biology, and art history. Each head is like a black box, preserving invaluable data about the people, society, and belief systems of a vanished civilization. Decoding them not only helps reconstruct the cultural picture of the Chachapoya, but also reveals how pre-Columbian communities perceived life, death, and power, adding a missing piece to the puzzle of human history. The Chachapoya ceremonial heads exist on the delicate boundary between art, warfare, and spirituality, reflecting the complex mindset of ancient humanity, where beauty and death merged into a powerful symbol. Each artifact is like a whisper from the past, evoking both admiration for its exquisite craftsmanship and a shiver at its profound spiritual implications. Until science uncovers the truth, they will remain silent eyes, hidden deep within Peru's cloud forests, watching over us and reminding us that history still holds pages yet to be turned. Beneath the blazing Arizona sun, in a land where the horizon shimmers with heat, rises a colossal clay fortress that has defied centuries of wind, rain, and sand. Known as the Great House Casa Grande, is more than just an ancient structure. It is a cryptic message from a vanished people. Built in the 14th century by the ingenious Hohokam, this four-story monument looms over the desert like a silent sentinel, its purpose still cloaked in mystery. The Hohokam masters of desert survival transformed arid ground into thriving farmland with vast canals that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Yet even with such brilliance, they left behind no written word to explain why this towering structure was built, or why their great civilization suddenly faded into history. In your opinion, what was the Great House of the Hohokam built for? An astronomical observatory, a ceremonial center, or something entirely different? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Great House of Casa Grande stands as a testament to the remarkable engineering skills of the Hohokam people achieved without the use of metal concrete or modern machinery. The structure was built entirely from caliche, a calcium-rich clay that hardens like stone when dry. The Hohokam compressed this material into large blocks and stacked them with precision, creating walls up to 1.2 meters thick. This thickness not only ensured the building's endurance for centuries, but also regulated its interior temperature, warm in winter, cool in summer, making it a perfectly adapted architectural solution for the harsh desert climate. Notably, the windows and openings were carefully aligned to correspond with astronomical events, such as the sunrise or sunset on the summer and winter solstices, as well as the phases of the moon. This precise arrangement has led many researchers to believe that the Great House once served as a primitive astronomical observatory, helping determine agricultural seasons and marking important ceremonial events. More than just an architectural structure, Casa Grande appears to have once been the center of the Hohokam's cultural, social, and commercial life. Archaeological evidence suggests that it may have hosted grand religious ceremonies, important council meetings of tribal leaders, or served as a transit hub in an extensive trade network. Numerous artifacts found in the area, such as finely crafted pottery seashells from the Gulf of California turquoise, from the northern regions, and even items originating from faraway lands, prove that the Hohokam were not isolated but actively engaged in interregional and even intercontinental exchange. The presence of these rare and valuable goods indicates that Casa Grande was once the heart of a thriving culture where economy, belief systems, and political power converged. The true purpose of the Great House at Casa Grande has long been a subject of debate among archaeologists, as each theory proposed seems reasonable in certain aspects but fails to fully explain all of the structure's architectural details and its location. One group of scholars believes it was a primitive astronomical observatory designed to track the movements of the sun-moon and constellations, thereby determining the timing of planting and ceremonial events. The alignment of its windows and openings with significant astronomical events further supports this idea. Others argue that it served as a religious ceremonial center reserved for the elite and shamans, acting as a bridge between the human world and the realm of the gods. Another theory suggests it was a symbol of power, demonstrating the community's organizational skills and collective strength, or perhaps a territorial marker and watchtower for monitoring enemies and safeguarding precious water sources. Yet to this day, no single explanation has been universally accepted, leaving the Great House as an enduring mystery that continues to challenge human curiosity. The decline of the Hohokam people around the mid-15th century remains one of the greatest mysteries in North American prehistory, especially when considering the prosperity they had achieved beforehand. Prior to this period, the Hohokam maintained an extensive irrigation canal system stretching hundreds of kilometers, sustaining stable agriculture in the arid desert, along with a trade network connecting distant regions. Yet in a relatively short time, major centers like Casa Grande were abandoned, leaving silent traces amidst the sand and wind. Researchers have proposed various theories. The prolonged drought theory, based on tree ring and river sediment data, suggests there were harsh dry periods lasting decades that may have collapsed their irrigation-dependent agriculture. The theory of war or internal conflict is supported by evidence of defensive walls at later settlements reflecting social instability. Some scholars emphasize disease possibly brought about by contact with new groups or environmental changes leading to severe population decline. Others point to environmental degradation from over-exploitation of the land and soil salinization caused by irrigation, which could have reduced crop yields. Additionally, cultural and social changes, such as shifts in religious beliefs, political structures, or disruptions in trade, may also have contributed to the collapse. What remains perplexing is that whatever the cause, their withdrawal happened rapidly and left almost no transitional traces, leaving Casa Grande standing alone, slowly eroded by time. The archaeological value of Casa Grande ruins was recognized very early when in 1892 the United States government officially placed it under protection, making it the first archaeological site in the nation to be managed by the federal government. The aim was to halt the rapid deterioration caused by the harsh desert climate and human activity. Today, a massive steel canopy covers the entire Great House, shielding its original caliche walls from rain, sun, and wind. Visitors can still admire the openings precisely aligned with astronomical events and feel the lingering presence of a vanished civilization, a breath of history preserved in the heart of the Arizona desert. Casa Grande Ruins is not merely a tourist destination or an archaeological site, but a vivid testament to human ingenuity and extraordinary adaptability in the face of a harsh desert environment. The Great House, with its unsolved mysteries and the sudden disappearance of the Hohokam people, continues to drive scientists to investigate while sparking the curiosity of visitors from around the world. Every cracked clay wall, every opening aligned with celestial events, serves as a reminder that even the most brilliant civilizations can fade away, leaving behind questions for future generations that may never be fully answered. In 1889, in a small town called Nampa in Idaho, USA, a group of workers drilling a well unexpectedly brought to the surface a strange artifact. It was a small clay figurine of a woman about 3.8 centimeters tall, with carvings so clear they were unmistakable, a face with eyes, nose, mouth, a body with shoulders and arms, the torso covered by a simple yet delicate dress. At first glance, it seemed like just a tiny object that could have belonged to any culture from the past few thousand years. But what made it one of the most controversial archaeological mysteries in the United States was not its appearance, but where and how old it was. What do you think about the mystery of the Nampa figurine? Could it be evidence of a civilization that existed millions of years ago, or just an incredible geological coincidence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. According to contemporary records, the Nampa figurine was discovered at a depth of nearly 97 meters underground when the drill pierced through a layer of hard clay and gravel. Geologists confirmed that this sediment layer belonged to the Pliocene epoch, formed about 2 to 3 million years ago. This date far predates the emergence of Homo sapiens, modern humans who have only existed for about 300,000 years. Even earlier ancestors such as Homo erectus, who appeared around 1.8 million years ago, are not believed to have possessed the skills to craft refined ceramics. This turns the discovery into a geological archaeological paradox. How could an object bearing the mark of human craftsmanship be found within a layer of earth formed millions of years before humans, as we currently understand, had even appeared. The dating issue is the very factor that turns the Nampa figurine from an ordinary artifact into a bombshell in the field of archaeology. If we assume the figurine was truly found intact within a Pliocene sediment layer and had not been disturbed from another stratum, it would lead to a series of shocking implications. First, it suggests that humans or a human-like species existed in North America at least 2 million years ago, far earlier than any archaeologically recognized evidence. Second, these beings not only existed, but also mastered the techniques of shaping and firing clay, a technology normally associated with agricultural civilizations of only the last few thousand years, not millions. And third, the evolutionary history of humankind, as we know it, is clearly incomplete, possibly missing entire chapters of our past. This directly contradicts the evidence from archaeology, paleontology, and anthropology, which maintains that humans only set foot in the Americas about 15,000 to 20,000 years ago. Yet the Nampa figurine points to a timeline hundreds of times older, raising the question, could we be facing a massive gap in our understanding of the past? To explain the paradox of the Nampa figurine's dating, many researchers and skeptics have proposed a series of hypotheses, each with its own arguments and weaknesses. The erosion and geological fissure hypothesis suggests that the figurine may be of more recent age but fell into fissures or was carried deep underground through geological processes over thousands of years. However, the clay layer at nearly 97 meters deep is extremely stable, making it highly unlikely for an object from an upper layer to penetrate without leaving clear signs of disturbance. The hoax hypothesis suspects that this was a staged event, with someone deliberately planting the artifact into the material retrieved from the well to create a sensational story. Yet in 1889, creating such a complex hoax would have had little clear motive, with limited media attention, and inserting an object into a drill boring hundreds of feet deep without detection would have been nearly impossible. The prehistoric civilization hypothesis is the boldest, suggesting that millions of years ago there may have existed a human or semi-human species with advanced craftsmanship which vanished entirely, leaving behind only a few scattered artifacts like this figurine. If true, it would overturn almost the entire framework of human evolution and migration as recognized by modern science. However, due to the lack of additional evidence and the strict demands of scientific methodology, this hypothesis is still regarded as speculative, yet it is precisely this speculation that has kept the Nampa figurine at the center of debate for over a century. The Nampa figurine is not the only case that has forced scientists to reconsider the established historical timeline. In research circles, such artifacts are referred to as parts out-of-place artifacts, artifacts out of place in terms of dating or context. Notable examples include the Klerksdorp metal spheres in South Africa, found in rock layers estimated to be 3 billion years old. The London hammer, encased in stone, believed to be over 100 million years old, and the Piri Reis map, which depicts the coastline of Antarctica before it was covered in ice, something modern science has only recently confirmed. Although each case has its own proposed explanations, ranging from unusual geological phenomena to the possibility of knowledge passed down from ancient civilizations, they all share one thing in common: they do not fit into the historical timeline we currently accept. This very mismatch makes parts a subject of intense debate, compelling both the scientific community and the public to wonder, could human history have far more gaps than we imagine? Today, the Nampa figurine is preserved at the Idaho State Historical Society, where it has undergone multiple material analyses. However, Due to the limitations of directly dating ceramic artifacts, no method has produced results strong enough to end the debate. Mainstream archaeologists remain skeptical regarding it as a case of geological misplacement, suggesting the artifact was disturbed and fell into an older layer of earth. In contrast, independent researchers and proponents of the prehistoric civilization hypothesis view the Nampa figurine as a rare piece of evidence indicating that human history may have begun far earlier than current textbooks describe. This clash of perspectives has left the mystery unresolved. The dating issue of the Nampa figurine is not just a matter of asking how old is it, but also raises a deeper question: what have we missed in human history? If the story surrounding this artifact is authentic, it would mean that the human presence in the Americas may have to be pushed back by millions of years, a scenario powerful enough to overturn many long-accepted theoretical foundations. Until undeniable evidence emerges, the Nampa figurine remains a reminder that no matter how advanced science has become, there are still pieces of history lying deep beneath the earth, silently waiting to be uncovered, pieces that could change the way we see the entire past. In 1999, in a forest near the town of Nebra in Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, two treasure hunters, using metal detectors, discovered a circular bronze object, about 30 centimeters in diameter, weighing more than 2 kg, inlaid with gleaming gold. Archaeologists quickly realized this was no ordinary decorative item, but one of the most sensational finds in Europe at the end of the 20th century, the Nebra sky disk. Dated to around 3,600 years ago, 1600 BCE. It is considered the oldest known astronomical artifact, far surpassing many ancient civilizations in its depiction and understanding of the sky. What do you think the Nebra sky disk was truly created for? A precise astronomical tool, a symbol of power, or a religious ceremonial object? Share your thoughts in the comments below. On the bronze surface, now coated with the greenish patina of time, the pieces of pure gold still shine with an unbelievable brilliance, as if defying the passage of millennia. Each golden detail was deliberately arranged with high precision: a large circle symbolizing the sun, or full moon, a crescent depicting the waxing or waning moon, and 32 small dots representing stars, with the Pleiades cluster standing out, known for its important role in determining the agricultural seasons in many ancient civilizations. Two symmetrical golden arcs on the rim of the disk are believed to indicate the angular shift between the points of sunrise and sunset during special times such as the spring and autumn equinoxes. Notably, at the bottom appears a third arc, which many scholars interpret as the image of the sunboat, a mythological symbol common from Norse to Egyptian cultures, representing the sun's endless journey across the daytime sky and through the underworld at night. These features make it impossible for scientists to regard it as mere art. Instead, they see it as both an astronomical observation tool and a religious ceremonial symbol, blending scientific and spiritual aspects of Bronze Age Europe. Metal composition analysis of the Nebra sky disk reveals a story far more complex than its appearance suggests. The bronze used to craft the disk has been traced to mines in the Alps region of Austria or the Iberian Peninsula, while the gold inlays on its surface bear distinctive markers of Cornwall, England. This indicates that during the Bronze Age, there existed a trans-European trade network stretching thousands of kilometers much earlier than archaeologists had previously assumed. Yet a major question remains unanswered: who created this masterpiece? Was it forged locally in Nebra, or was it the product of a distant cultural center brought here via ancient trade routes? Some theories propose that the disk's makers were goldsmiths who were also astronomers, serving the ruling elite individuals who held both wealth and power, thanks to their ability to accurately predict seasonal changes and significant celestial events. The celestial arrangement on the Nebra sky disk is laid out with striking precision and deliberate intent, leading many researchers to believe it once served as a seasonal measurement tool. By tracking the positions of the Sun and the Pleiades cluster in the sky, the owner could accurately determine the right time for planting or harvesting, an essential factor in Bronze Age European society where agriculture relied entirely on nature's rhythms. However, if it were merely a tool, the question arises, why was it crafted from gold, a rare and precious metal using some of the most sophisticated inlay techniques of its time? This suggests it also functioned as a symbol of power. In many ancient civilizations, astronomical knowledge was often guarded by chiefs or shamans. The ability to predict natural events not only reinforced their status, but also inspired awe and loyalty within the community. Moreover, the image of the sunboat at the bottom, together with the celestial bodies above, evokes myths of the life-death-rebirth cycle deeply tied to agrarian beliefs. The disk may have been used in ceremonies marking seasonal transitions, such as spring or autumn festivals, when the entire community prayed for abundant harvests and harmony between humanity and the cosmos. What makes the Nebra sky disk especially mysterious is the reason why such a priceless treasure was buried alongside weapons like swords, axes, and bronze bracelets at a depth of only about 1 meter. One theory suggests this was an act of hurried concealment during a time of conflict or unrest when its owner sought to protect it from enemies but never returned to retrieve it. Another theory proposes it was part of a ritual offering the burial of precious items to return them to the earth and sky as a gesture of reverence to the gods. Notably, archaeological evidence indicates the disk was used over many generations, possibly passing through the hands of multiple owners. Some details on the disk have been identified as added or modified after its initial creation, showing that it was not a static object, but rather a living artifact, continually adapted to reflect the evolving astronomical knowledge and religious beliefs of different periods. Although most scholars agree on the age and astronomical significance of the Nebra sky disk, there are still skeptical voices suggesting it may not have been a precise astronomical instrument, but rather a ceremonial object symbolizing the union of heaven and earth. This argument is based on the fact that the arrangement of celestial elements on the disk does not perfectly match the actual positions of the stars and moon as viewed from Central Europe at that time. An even bolder theory proposes that the disk's design was influenced by the cultures of Egypt or Mesopotamia, where astronomical knowledge and the sunboat motif had existed thousands of years earlier. If true, this would open up the possibility of a vast network of cultural exchange never recorded in history, raising the question of whether we have underestimated the level of connection between prehistoric civilizations. The Nebra sky disk remains one of archaeology's greatest mysteries, serving as evidence that people of the Bronze Age were not only skilled in metallurgy, but also capable of systematically observing and recording the sky-blending science and spirituality into a single artifact. Yet crucial questions: who created it, what its true purpose was, and why it was buried, remain unanswered. Each time we look at the disk, we see not only the sun, the moon, and the Pleiades, but also glimpse a story veiled by time, a story of knowledge, power, and belief that existed more than 3,000 years ago. Perhaps it is this very ambiguity that has made the Nebra sky disk an enduring symbol of humanity's desire to understand the cosmos and to find our place within it. In the heart of the Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on Earth, the Atacama Giant geoglyph stands as one of the most impressive ground drawings in the world. Measuring an astonishing 119 meters in height, it is the largest known human-shaped geoglyph, and for centuries it has remained an enigmatic mark that science has yet to fully decipher. Unlike stone monuments or pyramids, the Atacama Giant was not built from massive blocks, but was drawn directly onto the Earth's surface. Ancient people removed the dark stones covering the hillside, revealing the lighter soil beneath, creating the stylized figure of a giant with haunting details. Standing at the foot of the hill, one cannot see the full figure clearly, but from a distance or from the sky, it becomes strikingly visible, as if meant to send a message to observers above. What do you think the Atacama Giant was truly made for? Was it an astronomical tool, a religious symbol, or a message to watchers in the sky? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Archaeological studies indicate that the Atacama Giant was created between AD 800 and 1400, during a period when the Tarapacá region of the Atacama Desert was home to pre-Inca cultures such as the Tiwanaku and the indigenous Atacameño people. These were resilient inhabitants who lived in one of the harshest environments on Earth, relying on small oases, scarce underground water sources, and sophisticated farming techniques to survive. In their world, every sign related to weather seasons and natural phenomena held vital importance. For this reason, many researchers believe that the Atacama Giant was not merely a ceremonial or religious symbol, but may also have served as a massive astronomical instrument used to predict rare rains and determine the timing of planting and harvesting. This suggests that the colossal geoglyph was both a reflection of religious belief and a testament to the practical scientific knowledge of the ancient desert inhabitants. The form of the Atacama Giant is highly stylized, with a tall, upright body, a prominent square head, and two arms extended outward as if embracing the surrounding space. Atop the figure's head is a series of lines or spikes protruding upward, a detail believed to carry special meaning. Some scholars suggest these spikes symbolize the cycles of the moon and sun, or the positions of constellations important to the local people, serving as a kind of astronomical code. Another theory interprets them as a ceremonial crown of a protective deity representing power and sacredness. Meanwhile, the outstretched arms may symbolize strength, protection, or an act of invoking supernatural forces, reflecting the deep belief of ancient people in the connection between humans and the cosmos. The technique used to create the Atacama Giant is similar to that employed by ancient people. To make the Nazca lines in Peru, they removed the dark oxidized stones covering the hillside surface, exposing the lighter soil or sand beneath, which formed the sharp, clear outlines of the massive figure. This process required meticulous calculation to ensure the proportions and shape would remain accurate when viewed from a distance or from above. The Atacama Desert's environment, with only a few millimeters of rain each year and virtually no vegetation, acted as a natural preservative, allowing the geoglyph to remain intact for hundreds of years with minimal erosion. This raises a major question. Was it merely the result of collective labor and inherited experience, or does it also reflect a sophisticated body of astronomical and mathematical knowledge that we have yet to fully uncover? Regarding the purpose of the Atacama Giant, researchers have proposed various hypotheses, each opening a new line of interpretation, but also accompanied by unresolved debates. The most common theory suggests that it is a giant astronomical calendar designed based on the orientation and geometric elements of the figure, allowing ancient people to predict important natural events such as rainfall, planting seasons, or changes linked to the cycles of the sun and moon. Another approach views the Atacama Giant as a religious symbol representing a protective deity or mythical figure that played a central role in the spiritual life of the local people. Additionally, some scholars believe it served as a large-scale territorial marker intended to assert control over the land against rival tribes or to signal the community's presence from afar. Finally, there is the hypothesis of it being a ritual tool used in ceremonies to call for rain, give thanks for harvests, or mark important communal events. Interestingly, no single theory can fully explain all the figure's features, leaving the Atacama Giant as a mystery that remains unsolved. The greatest mystery of the Atacama Giant lies in the fact that despite decades of research, scientists still cannot provide a definitive answer to the true purpose of this colossal geoglyph. The first and perhaps most intriguing question is, why did ancient people create such an enormous human figure in the harsh environment of the Atacama Desert? If it served only internal ceremonial purposes, then its scale, nearly 120 meters, seems far beyond necessity, especially considering the extreme challenges of construction in a place with scarce water and limited resources. The next question concerns its location. The geoglyph sits on a high hillside, far from major settlements, and can only be clearly seen from a great distance or from above. This has led to speculation that it may have been intended for observers from the sky, an idea that has especially attracted proponents of unconventional theories, including links to extraterrestrial beings. Another puzzle lies in the symbol on its head. If this represents astronomical data, it should align with a specific calculation system, yet no scientific consensus has been reached. Some scholars have even proposed the concept of a cultural astronomical fusion, meaning it served both as a religious emblem and a scientific tool, a rare phenomenon among pre-Inca cultures. Notably, when compared to many other South American geoglyphs, which often depict animals or geometric shapes, the Atacama Giant stands out for its distinctly human form, raising the question, could this figure have held a unique symbolic meaning, deeply tied to the identity and beliefs of the ancient Atacameño people? Today, the Atacama Giant is a vital cultural heritage site in Chile, attracting researchers and travelers worldwide. It symbolizes the connection between humans' nature and the cosmos in ancient thought. To preserve it, authorities have implemented restrictions on direct access to prevent erosion and damage from human activity. The Atacama Giant geoglyph is not merely an immense artwork in the desert, it is an ancient message still undeciphered. It reminds us that some knowledge, beliefs, and stories of the past remain beyond the reach of modern science. It is precisely this mystery, combining colossal scale, distinctive form, and peculiar placement, that makes the Atacama Giant one of the most captivating archaeological enigmas in the world, challenging human curiosity in the quest to understand the origins and intellect of ancient civilizations. Lying directly beneath the center of the town of Royston, Hertfordshire, United Kingdom, Royston Cave is a cylindrical underground chamber about 8 meters high and roughly 5 meters wide, carved directly into chalk bedrock. Unlike natural caves or man-made underground structures with clear entrances, this cave is absent from any historical records. Its existence was only discovered by chance in 1742, when workers were digging foundations for a building in the town square. Beneath layers of earth and stone, they struck a mysterious hollow, and upon opening it, the light revealed an underground space filled with unusual carvings. So, what do you think lies behind the creation of Royston Cave? Was it the work of the Knights Templar, a secret place of forbidden worship, or something far older and stranger? Share your theory in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Unlike many other underground structures that are simple or purely functional, Royston Cave is a complete gallery of sacred and mysterious imagery meticulously carved into every inch of its chalk walls. The reliefs depict familiar figures such as Saint Catherine, with her wheel Saint Lawrence holding a gridiron, the protective Saint Christopher, the solemn image of Jesus Christ, and the serene Virgin Mary, all rendered with a level of care that reveals both devotion and deliberate purpose. Interspersed among these religious images are mysterious symbols, floral motifs, and abstract carvings whose meanings have been erased by time. Some clearly bear the hallmarks of medieval Christian art, suggesting a liturgical or devotional function, while others fit no known artistic tradition, raising questions about their origins. The refinement of the carvings, from the soft folds of robes to the intricate details of facial expressions, shows that the artisans possessed not only exceptional skill but also a deep understanding of religious or ceremonial symbolism. This combination of sacred narrative and mystery transforms the cave from a mere underground space into a silent chronicle of faith artistry and hidden meaning. Royston Cave is located at the intersection of two ancient Roman roads, Ermine Street and Icknield Way, vital routes that existed for thousands of years, once serving trade, military movements, and religious pilgrimages. This location was not only convenient for travel, but also strategically significant, easily connecting to many important regions of ancient England. For this reason, many scholars believe the cave's presence here is unlikely to be a coincidence. It may have been deliberately chosen as a site for secret rituals, discreet religious activities, or as a special stop for pilgrim groups and religious orders on long journeys. The greatest mystery, and the reason Royston Cave stands among the most notable archaeological enigmas of England, lies in the absolute obscurity of its origins. Not a single line in local chronicles, church records, or documents from secret societies mentions the excavation, construction, or use of this underground site. This complete historical silence has created a vast void, forcing people to rely on theories, debates, and speculation in search of answers. The most popular and frequently cited theory links Royston Cave to the Knights Templar, the powerful military religious order of the Crusades. Many carvings on the cave walls resemble motifs found at Templar sites across Europe, such as distinctive forms of the cross depictions of Crusader-style warriors and symmetrical geometric patterns. The cave's position, right at the junction of the ancient Roman roads, Ermine Street and Icknield Way, strengthens the idea that it could have been an ideal location to hide secrets, hold clandestine religious ceremonies, or serve as a secure communication point between members. However, no direct physical evidence has ever confirmed this link. Even so, the allure of the white-cloaked knights and the secrets they might have left behind continues to fascinate both the public and researchers. Another explanation proposed by religious historians is that Royston Cave may have been a secret place of worship during periods of religious persecution. In particular, during the English Reformation or times when Catholic rites were banned, communities determined to maintain their faith may have used the cave to conduct ceremonies safely away from the surveillance and punishment of the authorities. The carvings of saints' biblical scenes and Christian symbols on the walls could be direct testimony to this perseverance. An even bolder theory suggests that Royston Cave predates the medieval era, possibly dating to Roman times or even further back into prehistory. In this scenario, the cave might originally have been a grain store, an emergency refuge, or a ceremonial space for an ancient community. The basic structure could have existed for thousands of years before being repurposed and further carved by later generations. However, determining its exact age is almost impossible, as the chalk material does not preserve organic traces, making modern dating methods like radiocarbon analysis ineffective. Another key factor keeping the mystery alive is the severe lack of archaeological evidence. When the cave was discovered in 1742, many artifacts inside were removed or lost before researchers had a chance to examine them. The absence of tools, pottery bones, or organic samples has stripped away the most crucial clues for determining its age, purpose, and original culture. In addition, the damp chalk environment has eroded many details over time, while later restoration work, though intended to preserve, has inadvertently erased some original traces, making historical reconstruction even more difficult. For all these reasons, Royston Cave remains a crossroads of competing theories, the legacy of a powerful secret order, a sacred refuge for the faithful during persecution, or an ancient structure reused over centuries. Without a definitive answer, the cave continues to be a living mystery beneath the heart of a quiet town, urging archaeologists, historians, and curious minds alike to keep searching for clues to a story time has hidden for hundreds of years. Today, visitors descend into Royston Cave via a narrow staircase, stepping into a dimly lit chamber where artificial lights cast shadows over the ancient carvings. The atmosphere is a blend of sacredness, mystery, and a subtle chill as one considers that secret rites may have once taken place here, rites about which history remains completely silent. Though its origins remain unknown, Royston Cave stands as a unique cultural heritage site, reflecting the diversity and complexity of religious belief, artistry, and social history in England. It also serves as a reminder that some archaeological mysteries are not hidden in distant lands, but lie right beneath our feet in the heart of a modern town. Lying in the arid yet historically rich Casma Valley of northern Peru, Setchin Bajo is one of the most important archaeological sites in South America and one of the rare pieces of evidence of the emergence of early ceremonial urban centers on the continent. Discoveries here have changed how archaeologists understand the prehistoric Andes, pushing back the timeline for urban construction and social organization in South America much further than previously thought. Excavations show that Setchin Bajo was not just an ancient settlement, but a massive ceremonial architectural complex that existed and evolved continuously for more than 2,000 years. Among its most notable finds, the sunken circular plaza is considered the spiritual heart of the site, where the community gathered to perform rituals tied to belief, seasonal cycles, and the relationship between humans and the supernatural. So what do you think these mysterious carvings at Setchin Bajo are trying to tell us? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. The dating of the architectural layers at Setchin Bajo has astonished archaeologists, as radiocarbon analysis shows that some foundations were built around 3500 to 3600 BCE, with evidence suggesting human activity nearly 5,000 years ago. This means that when ancient Egypt was just beginning to erect its first pyramids, and Mesopotamia was forming its thriving city-states across the ocean on the arid coast of Peru, there already existed an organized community capable of constructing monumental structures and maintaining a complex ceremonial life, reflecting the remarkably early development of civilization in the Americas. The most striking feature at Setchin Bajo is the sunken circular plaza, about 14 meters in diameter, built from stone and mud, with steps leading down to its center. This structure not only provided an ideal gathering space for the community, but may also have created a natural echo effect, allowing speech chanting and ceremonial music to resonate more powerfully during ritual events. Many archaeologists believe the circle holds deep symbolic meaning, representing cycles' eternity and the connection between humans and the cosmos. The sunken design also gives participants the feeling of being enclosed in a sacred space, separated from everyday life, making each ceremony more solemn and spiritually profound. If the circular plaza is the heart of Setchin Bajo, then its reliefs and stone carvings are the voice of a vanished culture. On walls, stone pillars, and freestanding blocks, archaeologists have found a wealth of engravings depicting humans, animals, and hard-to-identify shapes, sometimes blending realistic and supernatural elements. Some works show figures with sharply defined facial features and large eyes, occasionally fierce, as if imposing authority. Certain figures hold weapons or ritual tools, suggesting scenes of combat or sacrifice. Others appear alongside animals, fish, seabirds, mammals, seemingly carrying symbolic or mythological meaning. Most striking are the half-human, half-animal figures, human bodies with animal heads, or unusual combinations of biological traits. Many scholars believe these could represent gods, totemic creatures, or transformations in shamanic rituals in which the practitioner embodies an animal to connect with the spirit world. Yet their exact meaning remains a mystery. No written records have been found at Setchin Bajo to explain them, and the symbol system here does not match the styles known from later cultures like the Mochi or Nazca. They may belong to a belief system that has completely vanished, leaving only fragmented visual traces for posterity. Some theories suggest these reliefs are pictorial chronicles, recording major events, wars, sacrifices, alliances between communities meant to preserve collective memory across generations. Others emphasize the ceremonial aspect, seeing them as the language of an early native religion, encoded in symbolic imagery understood only by members of that culture. In either case, the carvings of Setchin Bajo open a window into a complex world of thought, where art was not merely for viewing, but served as a medium of power, intellect, and belief. It is precisely this ambiguity and lack of definitive answers that make them one of the most fascinating mysteries in South American archaeology. One notable aspect of Setchin Bajo is that the carvings appear to have been deliberately placed in highly visible spots, such as right at the entrance to the circular plaza or on the walls of central structures. This suggests they were not merely decorative, but may have served as visual tools to assert the spiritual or political authority of the ruling class. In a society without a writing system, imagery became the most effective means of communication, both direct and resistant to distortion. At Setchin Bajo, each carved line could be seen as a declaration of social order, a legitimization of ongoing rituals, or a reminder of creation myths that shaped the community's identity and beliefs for generations. Setchin Bajo did not exist in isolation, but was a link in the vast cultural network of the Casma Valley. Just a few kilometers away lies Setchin Alto with its massive stepped pyramid, and Cerro Setchin, famous for stone slabs depicting warriors and decapitated victims. These three sites form a cultural triangle that may have served as a power center, coordinating the ceremonial, economic, and political life of the region for centuries. Similarities in carving techniques and layouts suggest close interaction, while subtle differences raise questions about the division of functions and the unique symbolic meaning of each center. Despite decades of research, Setchin Bajo still holds many secrets that leave archaeologists perplexed. To this day, no one knows for sure who first built this complex, where they came from, or what their true connection was to other ancient civilizations in Peru. The carvings, though rich and vivid, have yet to speak fully, as the key to deciphering their meaning has been lost to time. Perhaps each relief is a story of supreme deities, legendary ancestors, epic battles, or sacred rituals, but all that remains are their shapes and vague compositions for us to speculate upon. It is precisely this silence that gives Setchin Bajo its strange allure, like a book without words, an empty stage where only the backdrop of enigmatic carvings remains, challenging every effort of modern humans in their quest to decode the past. Long before the first pyramid rose above the sands, before the Great Sphinx watched over the Gisr Plateau, an enormous stone enclosure was already standing in the desert. Hidden within the ancient necropolis of Saqqara, this colossal structure, known today as Gisr el-Mudir, is older than many of Egypt's most famous monuments, yet remains one of its least understood. Vast, silent, and utterly enigmatic, it has no chambers, no carvings, and no inscriptions, only towering stone walls guarding a mystery that has defied explanation for over 4,000 years. What do you think Gisr el-Mudir was built for? Could it have been a sacred ceremonial site, a symbol of royal power, or something entirely beyond our imagination? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Your perspective might just help shed new light on this ancient mystery. Based on stratigraphic analysis and architectural style comparisons, many archaeologists believe that Gisr el-Mudir was built during Egypt's second dynasty around 2700 BCE. If this theory is correct, the structure would predate the step pyramid of King Djoser, long considered the oldest pyramid, and stand as the earliest known large-scale stone structure in Egypt. This suggests that from the very dawn of state formation, the ancient Egyptians already possessed an astonishing ability to organize society, mobilize labor, and allocate resources. Quarrying limestone, transporting it over long distances, and stacking it into massive walls required advanced technical skills and precise coordination. This discovery not only pushes back the timeline for stone architecture in Egypt, but also reveals that the vision for monumental construction emerged much earlier than previously thought. Gisr el-Mudir is a massive rectangular complex measuring about 650 meters in length and 350 meters in width, enclosed by limestone walls up to 15 meters thick and possibly more than 10 meters high when first built. What is astonishing is that the entire interior space is completely empty. No chambers, no temples, no corridors, and no decorative carvings, just an expanse of sand-covered ground. This absolute simplicity sets it apart from other famous monuments of ancient Egypt, such as pyramids or tombs, which typically contain burial chambers, treasures, and ceremonial structures. In the case of Gisr el-Mudir, it is precisely this emptiness that becomes its greatest mystery, forcing researchers to ask, why would the ancients pour such immense effort into building a colossal stone enclosure merely to surround nothing? The walls of Gisr el-Mudir were built entirely from limestone quarried right in the Saqqara area. These stone blocks were roughly cut, lacking the smooth finishes and precise joints seen in the refined techniques of the Old Kingdom pyramids. Yet the scale and workload were enormous. Thousands of tons of stone had to be extracted from the quarry, transported across desert terrain, and stacked into walls several dozen meters thick. This process required a vast labor force, organized and directed with strict discipline. Remarkably, even before Egypt reached the pinnacle of its construction techniques, they had already demonstrated the ability to master monumental stone architecture to a rare degree, proving the organizational strength and forward-thinking vision of this ancient civilization. For over a century of research, the central question surrounding Gisr el-Mudir has never been satisfactorily answered. Why did the ancient Egyptians build such a massive solid structure that is completely empty? The limestone walls, several meters thick, enclosing a vast open space, have sparked numerous theories, each with its own reasoning, yet none with decisive evidence. Some scholars suggest it may have been an open-air religious ceremonial area where important rituals or the pharaoh's coronation took place. The empty interior could have accommodated thousands of people, while the colossal walls served as a sacred boundary, separating it from the outside world. However, the absence of altar statues of deities or ritual traces makes this theory less convincing. Others believe Gisr el-Mudir was a defensive structure or special boundary, perhaps a fortress protecting a center of power. With its impressive thickness and height, the walls could have deterred intrusions. Yet its location in Saqqara, a royal necropolis and religious hub, was not a site of frequent conflict, and no military evidence has been found. Another hypothesis envisions it as the foundation of a grand monument, never completed, possibly a pyramid or massive temple, abandoned due to political changes or the death of its patron king. However, architectural surveys indicate the walls were completed and ready for use with no signs of unfinished construction. From an anthropological perspective, some researchers propose that the structure may have had no practical function at all, serving instead as a statement of power by the pharaoh, a demonstration of his ability to mobilize labor and resources, asserting absolute control. In this interpretation, Gisr el-Mudir was not built to be used, but to be seen a monumental emblem of royal authority standing tall in the desert. And there remains another more elusive possibility, a purpose entirely alien to modern thinking. Perhaps we are imposing our contemporary mindset onto this monument, when in reality, the ancient Egyptians may have built it to serve cosmological beliefs, rituals, or traditions that have vanished entirely from human memory. It is precisely this void of information, no inscriptions, no artifacts, no direct clues, that makes all theories fragile. Thus, Gisr el-Mudir still stands challenging researchers and stirring the curiosity of future generations, as if it was created solely to remain an eternal mystery amid the golden sands of Saqqara. Unlike most other monuments in Egypt, Gisr el-Mudir has left almost no archaeological traces that could provide clear clues. There are no inscriptions, no stelae, no pottery fragments bearing the name of a king or dynasty, and not even any evidence of ceremonial activity. Inside and around the site, only stone sand and a few quarry marks remain. This forces researchers to rely almost entirely on speculation and architectural comparison to determine its age, purpose, and meaning. It is precisely this absolute silence that has turned Gisr el-Mudir into a mystery of great allure, as if deliberately keeping its story hidden from future generations. Even without a definitive answer, Gisr el-Mudir is a vital piece of Egypt's architectural history. It proves that long before the Great Pyramids, the Egyptians could organize massive stone projects. At the same time, it reminds us that not every ancient monument can be easily decoded. Some structures seem to exist purely to challenge the curiosity of later generations. It is this silence that makes Gisr el-Mudir one of the most enigmatic sites in Saqqara, a walled enclosure that refuses to reveal its past, as if keeping a story only it will ever know. Deep in the heart of southern Africa, where ancient hills cradle the ruins of a forgotten empire, rises a colossal ring of stone, unlike anything else on the continent. This is the great enclosure of Zimbabwe, an awe-inspiring fortress of granite built without mortar, yet standing unshaken for more than 6 centuries. Towering walls twist into labyrinthine passages, hiding a massive conical tower whose purpose remains unknown. Was it a royal palace, a sacred temple, or something far more mysterious? Whatever its true function, the Great Enclosure is not just the largest ancient stone structure in sub-Saharan Africa. It is a riddle carved into the very bones of the earth, daring us to uncover its secrets. So, what do you think? The Great Enclosure was truly built for a seat of royal power, a ceremonial center, or something entirely different? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. The Great Enclosure stands as the most imposing stone construction within the Great Zimbabwe complex, a testament to both the ambition and craftsmanship of its builders. Encircling an area with a wall stretching about 250 meters, rising 10-11 meters high, and in places reaching 6 meters in thickness, it dominates the surrounding landscape. What makes this achievement even more remarkable is the absence of mortar. Every block of granite was painstakingly shaped by hand and fitted so precisely that the walls have withstood the ravages of time for more than 6 centuries. The engineering is matched by artistic sophistication. The walls are adorned with decorative stonework, including the iconic herringbone pattern and fluid spiral designs. These motifs, carefully integrated into the masonry, hint at symbolic meanings that remain only partially understood. Far from being a mere fortification, the Great Enclosure's architecture reflects a deliberate fusion of function, beauty, and cultural identity, embodying the enduring legacy of the Shona civilization. Inside the Great Enclosure lies a complex of enclosed spaces divided by sturdy stone walls into separate areas whose functions remain uncertain. The most striking feature is the massive conical tower, about 9 meters high, with a perfectly smooth surface and no entrance whatsoever, making it a symbol steeped in mystery. Surrounding the tower are winding narrow passages, wide, flat platforms, and open spaces that many archaeologists believe may once have been used for important rituals or as residences for the elite. Notably, the overall layout of the Great Enclosure does not follow the familiar room corridor pattern, but instead carries a deliberate symbolic design, reflecting the social hierarchy, authority, and spiritual beliefs of the ancient Shona people. This fusion of practical function and ritual significance has made the structure an architectural enigma that remains difficult to decode. Among all the questions surrounding the Great Enclosure, the greatest and most hotly debated mystery is its true purpose. Although countless theories have been proposed, none has been convincing enough to win universal agreement among scholars, making the Great Enclosure one of the most enduring archaeological enigmas in Africa. The most common theory suggests that it was the palace of the ancient Zimbabwean royal family. Its massive stone walls rising over 10 meters high and enclosed design would have created an absolutely secure space completely separated from commoners. This fits well with the centralized power structure of a strong kingdom. However, when archaeologists searched for traces of daily life, such as roofing remains, household items, kitchens, or signs of habitation, the results were minimal. The lack of direct physical evidence poses a major challenge to this theory. Another widely supported theory holds that the Great Enclosure served as a religious or political ceremonial center. The key to this argument is the conical tower, a structure about 9 meters high with no entrance, believed to symbolize abundance and authority, much like a sacred granary. The surrounding enclosed walls may have created a sacred space accessible only to a select few. Yet questions remain unanswered. What kind of ceremonies took place, on what scale, And why was such a monumental structure necessary? A third, more anthropological theory proposes that it was a site for female initiation rites. The enclosed, secluded nature of the space and the presence of symbolic stone patterns may relate to traditional rituals marking important transitions in personal life. However, as with the other theories, the absence of direct archaeological evidence keeps this idea in the realm of speculation. What prolongs this mystery for centuries is the severe lack of documentation and tangible artifacts. There are no ancient texts, inscriptions, or distinctive objects that clearly describe the Great Enclosure's purpose. Researchers have had to rely on comparisons with other cultures or seek clues in the oral traditions of the Shona people. For this reason, the question of the Great Enclosure is not only an architectural puzzle, but also a gateway to exploring the nature of power belief and spiritual life in a brilliant African civilization that still holds many secrets. Whatever its function, the Great Enclosure was undeniably a symbol of power and prosperity. At its peak, Great Zimbabwe was a bustling trade hub, exchanging gold, ivory, and luxury goods with Arab, Indian, and even Chinese merchants. The sheer scale of the structure, built with massive manpower and advanced skills, shows that the kingdom had strong resources and social organization. For this reason, the Great Enclosure is often seen as a stone declaration of the Shona people's strength and identity. Around the 15th century, Great Zimbabwe, along with the Great Enclosure, was suddenly abandoned, leaving behind many unanswered questions. Historians have proposed various theories: the depletion of essential resources, such as timber and arable land, climate change, leading to prolonged droughts or shifts in trade routes that caused this power center to lose its economic advantage. For centuries afterward, the Great Enclosure faded into obscurity, reclaimed by nature and slipping from human memory. When European explorers discovered it in the 19th century, they initially refused to believe such a monumental structure had been built by the local people, leading to a series of misguided theories attributing it to ancient Arabs, the Phoenicians, or even a lost civilization. Only with the confirmation from modern archaeology establishing its age and origin did the world finally acknowledge it as a masterpiece of the Shona ancestors. The Great Enclosure is not just an ancient structure, it is a historical enigma. Each theory about its purpose offers new insights into ancient Zimbabwean society, from political power structures and religion to gender roles. The absence of a definitive answer makes it an endless source of inspiration for researchers, documentary filmmakers, and history enthusiasts. It is this blend of extraordinary construction skill, vast trade networks, and an unsolved functional mystery that makes the Great Enclosure one of Africa's most enigmatic monuments, a stone challenge to anyone seeking the truth hidden behind its towering walls. Hidden deep within a sweeping alpine valley in northern Italy lies a vast gallery not built by human hands, but etched directly into the living rock over the span of 8 millennia. Here, more than 140,000 mysterious carvings cover boulders and cliff faces, telling fragments of a story we still cannot fully read. Some depict hunters, warriors, and ancient rituals. Others are strange symbols and geometric shapes unlike anything we know, enigmatic marks that may hold the keys to a forgotten language, a lost religion, or even a prehistoric map of the stars. This is not just art. It is one of humanity's oldest archives, an enduring riddle carved into stone, daring us to decode its meaning. What do you think these carvings were meant to tell us? Were they records of real events, sacred symbols, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. What makes Valcamonica truly remarkable, is its rare combination of vast scale and immense age. Across the valley, more than 140,000 carvings appear like open pages of a book recorded continuously for over 8,000 years, from the Neolithic period to the expansion of the Roman Empire. This uninterrupted creative sequence forms a visual timeline, allowing archaeologists to trace the development of ancient communities through each stage of history. From the earliest crude depictions of people and animals, we begin to see more elaborate scenes of daily life and rituals, followed by abstract motifs, rich in symbolism, reflecting the evolving technology, thought, and beliefs of humankind over millennia. The themes of the Valcamonica carvings are so rich that they resemble a stone encyclopedia of ancient life. The ancients recorded vivid hunting scenes with bows, dogs, herds of deer, and wild cattle in motion, reflecting survival skills and community organization. Alongside these are depictions of warriors holding weapons and groups of people dancing in ceremonial settings, expressing spiritual life and belief systems. Agricultural tools, wheels, and chariots reveal technological advancements and long-term settlement. Most intriguing are the abstract geometric shapes, spirals, concentric circles, and patterns resembling star maps that raise major questions for researchers. Are these merely decorative, or do they form a symbolic system with astronomical, religious, or otherwise hidden knowledge of the ancient world? Many scholars believe that the carvings at Valcamonica are not merely works of art, but rather a form of visual language reflecting the mindset and beliefs of ancient alpine communities. They may have served as tribal historical records, a medium for transmitting knowledge, or a way to express a worldview. Repeated motifs, such as figures with both arms raised, are often interpreted as prayer postures or symbols of deities. Other theories suggest that many carvings depict astronomical observations used to predict harvests or mark important events, showing a blend of spiritual life and early scientific knowledge. In 1979, Valcamonica became Italy's first UNESCO World Heritage Site, affirming its exceptional importance in the treasury of human culture. It is often described as a vast stone library, preserving invaluable information about prehistoric European life. Thousands of carved stones hold clues to the daily activities, beliefs, and thinking of ancient people, attracting not only archaeologists and anthropologists, but also experts in symbolism, all striving to decode the messages hidden in each carved line. Few archaeological sites in the world so clearly reflect the transformation of society, technology, and belief systems over dozens of generations as Valcamonica. Here, layers of carvings allow us to trace the journey from early hunter-gatherer groups to settled agricultural communities, then to societies with warriors and defined power structures, before eventually merging into the influence of Rome. Each stage left its own distinct mark, like a sequence of history's pages carved directly into stone over thousands of years. One of the most fascinating aspects of Valcamonica is the presence of mysteries that remain unsolved despite over a century of study and analysis by researchers. The challenge lies not only in interpreting the meaning of each individual symbol, but also in understanding the context and true purpose behind their creation. Hundreds of geometric carvings, ranging from circles and spirals to grid patterns and zigzag lines, do not correspond to any known writing system. Some scholars suggest they could represent a form of encoded information or a proto-recording system designed to preserve astronomical or religious knowledge. Additionally, the arrangement of certain clusters of carvings seems to correspond to constellations or celestial events, prompting theories that Valcamonica's inhabitants observed the sky and recorded it to predict harvests or conduct religious ceremonies. However, no definitive proof has yet emerged. Many other carvings carry a mythological tone, figures wearing radiant halo-like headdresses or human-animal hybrids reminiscent of gods, legendary heroes, or supernatural beings from ancient belief systems. The key question remains, were these carvings meant to tell stories, educate future generations, or serve as pleas for bountiful harvests and peace? Some argue that certain images might simply be personal marks, a kind of signature by the carver or their community. The complexity of this mystery is heightened by the layering of time. Many stones bear carvings from multiple periods superimposed upon each other, making dating and interpretation even more challenging. Some were modified, erased, or added to by later generations, as if the story had been rewritten many times, with the original forever hidden beneath the layers of history. Today, Valcamonica attracts not only archaeologists, anthropologists, and symbol experts, but also a wide range of visitors passionate about history and culture. Local museums and open-air reserves allow people to admire thousand-year-old carved stones up close, combined with guided tours and prehistoric life reenactments that make the experience even more vivid. Yet what makes this place truly captivating are the unsolved mysteries, each carving like an unfinished fragment of humanity's story, urging us to search for answers. Valcamonica is not merely a collection of ancient carvings, but a vivid testament to the creativity, imagination, and cultural depth of prehistoric humans. Each engraving is a piece of historical data preserved for thousands of years, forming an immense archive of the past. Yet, alongside its informational value, the site holds countless unanswered questions, from the meaning of its abstract symbols to the true purpose behind their creation. It is the enduring presence of these mysteries that makes Valcamonica a living heritage, where each generation has the chance to interpret, hypothesize, and continue the quest to find the missing pieces of humanity's historical puzzle. Over 4,500 years ago, in the bustling heart of the Indus Valley civilization, an artisan cast a small bronze figure no taller than a handspan that would one day captivate the modern world. This is the dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro, a masterpiece so alive with confidence and grace that it seems to defy the centuries. Since her discovery in 1926, she has stood at the center of heated debates among archaeologists, art historians, and cultural scholars. Was she a performer, a symbol of feminine power, or something far more enigmatic? Her creation speaks of astonishing skill and artistry, yet it is the unanswered questions, her story, her purpose, her very identity, that have made her one of the most haunting and enduring mysteries in the study of the ancient world. What do you think the dancing girl truly represents? A gifted performer, a symbol of female power, or a figure hiding a completely different story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. The dancing girl figurine stands only about 10.5 centimeters tall, yet it embodies an extraordinary achievement in the technology and artistry of the Indus Valley civilization. Crafted entirely in bronze using the lost wax casting method, a sophisticated metalworking technique requiring precision and high skill, the figurine astonished researchers, as this process is usually associated with much later civilizations. Discovered in 1926 at Mohenjo-daro, this tiny girl immediately impressed, not only with its meticulous craftsmanship, but also with its unexpectedly vivid and natural presence. Her posture, stance, and confident expression broke away from the conventional patterns of ancient South Asian sculpture, making the piece a rare testament to the refinement and creative spirit far ahead of its time. The dancing girl figurine portrays a young woman in an incredibly natural yet strikingly captivating stance. One hand resting lightly on her hip, the other hanging loosely at her side, her head slightly tilted upward, with eyes seeming to gaze into the distance. This posture radiates confidence, even a hint of defiance, setting her apart from the typical depictions of women in many ancient cultures, often shown as modest, solemn, or bound to religious symbolism. It is precisely this demeanor that has led many scholars to believe she is very likely the likeness of a real flesh and blood individual preserved through art, rather than an abstract figure or mythical character. The name Dancing Girl comes from the theory that she was a dancer or performer in Indus Valley society. If this theory is correct, the figurine serves as evidence that the art of dance not only existed, but was also valued in Mohenjo-daro. Details such as the numerous bangles covering her left arm, her neatly braided hair swept to one side, and her graceful yet strong physique all reinforce this interpretation. However, it remains purely speculative, as no written records from this civilization have yet been deciphered to confirm the true story or identity of this small bronze girl. Some researchers believe that the dancing girl is not merely the image of a performer, but also serves as a symbol of women's status and power in Indus Valley society. Over 4,500 years ago, depicting a woman with a strong stance, a confident gaze, and a sense of freedom was extremely rare, especially given that most ancient civilizations portrayed women in limited, constrained roles. This suggests that women at the time may have held important positions, possessed autonomy, and had a recognized voice within their communities. The mysteries surrounding the dancing girl figurine are precisely what have made it an endless subject of study in the field of archaeology. Nearly a century has passed since its discovery, yet this tiny artifact continues to pose questions without clear answers, sparking curiosity and driving scholars to search for the truth. No ancient text from the Indus Valley civilization records the name or story of the figure, leading to many theories she could be the portrait of a real woman, a famed performer, immortalized in bronze, or simply an idealized form envisioned by the artisan. If she was indeed a real person, the fact that her likeness was preserved in a valuable metal suggests she must have held a special position in society, perhaps as a member of the royal family, a priestess in religious ceremonies, or a highly respected court performer. The true purpose of the figurine is also unknown. It may have served for worship decoration or as a special ceremonial offering. Some have speculated it could have been a good luck charm or a tribute to the art of dance. Yet no physical evidence or ancient record confirms this, leaving all interpretations in the realm of speculation. The posture and gaze of the dancing girl do not match the depictions of deities or religious icons. Instead, they convey a sense of everyday life infused with strong individuality. This suggests that artisans of the time did more than fulfill ritual demands. They created works that celebrated beauty and personal character. If so, why have so few similar pieces been found? Were most lost to time, or were such creations reserved for a select group in society? The Indus Valley civilization remains one of the most enigmatic in history, with its writing system still undeciphered. This means that everything about the dancing girl, from her occupation and social status to her symbolic meaning, must be inferred from archaeological evidence and cross-cultural comparison. This absence of direct information is both a challenge and a source of fascination, making every small detail on the figurine a potential clue in the quest to decode history. Archaeologists also wonder if a dancing girl of such refined craftsmanship exists. The Indus society must have had a well-developed bronze casting tradition, implying that many similar artifacts may still lie buried or have been destroyed over millennia. If discovered, they could reveal crucial insights not only about this figurine, but about the entire Indus Valley civilization. It is this combination of advanced craftsmanship, lifelike presence, and the vast gaps in historical knowledge that has turned the dancing girl into a captivating artistic and archaeological enigma. She is not merely an ancient sculpture, but a small doorway opening onto countless larger questions about the history, culture, and people of a world that existed thousands of years ago. The dancing girl is not merely an ancient work of art, but a vivid testament to the creativity, exceptional craftsmanship, and ability of prehistoric people to express individuality through art. Her confident stance, distant gaze, and the meticulous detail in every feature elevate the figurine beyond the realm of an ordinary archaeological artifact, turning it into a symbol of human freedom and beauty. It is the silence of history, no one truly knowing her story or identity, that has made this tiny figure one of the most captivating artistic mysteries of all time. At the southern end of Teotihuacan's legendary Avenue of the Dead rises a monument that commands both awe and unease. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, a masterpiece of ancient stonework honoring the god Quetzalcoatl, dazzles with its intricate carvings of serpents and storms. But beneath its ceremonial grandeur lies a far darker truth: hundreds of human sacrifices entombed in mass graves, and a hidden tunnel system brimming with treasures, toxins, and enigmas that have defied scientific explanation for decades. Here, power, faith, and blood converge in a story as haunting as it is magnificent. What do you think was the true purpose of this temple? A grand gateway to the gods, a political show of power, or something even more mysterious? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Teotihuacan, one of the most powerful ancient cities in the Americas, reached its peak between the 1st and 7th centuries CE, with an estimated population of 100,000 to 200,000 inhabitants. At the heart of its vast ceremonial complex, known as the Ciudadela, which could accommodate tens of thousands of people, stood the prominent Temple of the Feathered Serpent, built around 250 CE. The temple's name comes from stone reliefs of feathered serpents, Quetzalcoatl, carved along its stairways. In Mesoamerican mythology, Quetzalcoatl was the creator god who brought rain, wind, knowledge, and life, yet was also linked to military strength and warfare. The temple's facade also features the head of the storm god Tlaloc, associated with tempests and divine judgment. This combination conveys a powerful message: the balance between life and death, between protection and punishment, reflecting the complex religious and political ideology of the Teotihuacan civilization. Since excavations began in the 1980s, archaeologists have uncovered over 200 human skeletons buried in groups around and inside the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Most of these remains belong to young men, many showing clear evidence of having their hands bound behind their backs with necklaces made from human teeth or animal claws, symbols closely tied to ritual and power. Bone analysis indicates they died in sacrificial ceremonies, most likely to mark the temple's inauguration. Notably, many graves contained sharp obsidian weapon seashells from distant coastal regions and gemstones from Guatemala, demonstrating that Teotihuacan maintained an extensive trade network and strong political influence, while also reflecting the civilization's intricate blend of religion, warfare, and economics. In 2003, a chance discovery opened a new chapter in the study of Teotihuacan. After a heavy rain, a sudden sinkhole revealed the entrance to a tunnel about 100 meters long, lying deep beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Archaeologists spent nearly a decade patiently clearing thick layers of mud to fully access the structure. Inside the tunnel led to 3 large chambers, filled with thousands of diverse artifacts, intricately carved stone statues, ceremonial pottery seashells from distant coasts, shimmering pyrite spheres, colorful gemstones, animal bones, and most notably, liquid mercury, an extremely rare material in the archaeology of the Americas. The use of mercury in a ceremonial space has led scholars to propose various hypotheses, including the idea that it symbolized the river of the underworld, or served as a miniature model of the universe, according to Teotihuacan cosmology. Although excavations at the Temple of the Feathered Serpent have yielded an enormous amount of artifacts and archaeological data, countless unanswered questions remain, making this site one of Teotihuacan's greatest mysteries. First, the true identity of the more than 200 individuals buried around the temple is still unknown. They could have been Teotihuacan's elite warriors interred as part of an honorific ritual, or war captives sacrificed to send a message of power to enemies and deities alike. No written records from Teotihuacan have been discovered, so all conclusions must rely solely on skeletal morphology and grave goods. The second mystery surrounds the presence of liquid mercury, a toxic, difficult-to-extract substance rarely found in ancient American rituals. Some theories suggest it symbolized the sacred rivers of the underworld, while others connect it to astronomical concepts or symbols of royal authority. The third question concerns the true purpose of the tunnel beneath the temple. Was it the tomb of a supreme ruler, something never confirmed in Teotihuacan, or a miniature model of the universe representing the soul's journey through celestial and underworld realms? Finally, the role of Quetzalcoatl in these blood-soaked rituals also challenges researchers. In many later Mesoamerican civilizations, Quetzalcoatl was seen as a benevolent god associated with life and knowledge. Yet in Teotihuacan, his temple was the focal point of mass sacrifices. This may reflect a completely different early interpretation of the mythology, one in which power and sacrifice were viewed as inseparable aspects of cosmic order. Scientific hypotheses about the Temple of the Feathered Serpent reflect how researchers have tried to decipher the structure's true role within the context of ancient Teotihuacan. The bloody inauguration hypothesis proposed by archaeologist Saburo Sugiyama suggests that hundreds of people were sacrificed to mark the temple's completion, serving both as a religious act and as a display of power to reinforce political order. The royal tomb hypothesis is based on similarities between the tunnel's structure, underground chambers, and the presence of liquid mercury with royal tombs in other civilizations. However, no remains of a supreme ruler have yet been found. The cosmic model hypothesis focuses on symbolic aspects, arguing that the tunnel and artifacts carry astronomical meaning, reflecting Teotihuacan's worldview in which the temple served as the axis mundi, linking heaven-earth and the underworld. Finally, the political religious message hypothesis proposes that the combination of Quetzalcoatl and Tlaloc imagery was meant to assert that state power derived from both protection and the ability to punish, thereby strengthening faith and obedience among the populace. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent and its mass graves have transformed our understanding of Teotihuacan. Scholars once viewed it as relatively peaceful compared to other Mesoamerican civilizations, but evidence of large-scale sacrifice shows that ritual violence was part of its political system. Its sophisticated architecture complex, religious symbolism, and diverse artifacts reflect a society with a far-reaching economic and cultural network influencing the Maya and later Mesoamerican cultures. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Tombs remains a historical enigma. Each excavation reveals new details while raising new questions, until definitive evidence emerges, perhaps a surviving text or a groundbreaking find. The secrets of the dead, the meaning of the mercury, and the tunnel's true purpose will continue to spark debate among scholars. This temple is not only a relic of the past, but also a gateway into the imagination, a link to a vanished civilization that left behind traces both magnificent and haunting beneath the soil of Teotihuacan. In 1986, during an expedition to explore the cave system of Mount Owen in the southern Alps of New Zealand, a team of explorers accidentally stumbled upon one of the most astonishing biological archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. As their flashlights cut through the deep darkness of the limestone cave, they spotted something that looked as if it had just been severed from the body of a living creature, a giant claw still covered with rough skin tendons and soft tissue. The first impression of those present was a mixture of curiosity and shock. Its appearance was nothing like the dry, brittle fossils or ancient skeletons normally found. It looked instead like a part of an animal that had only recently died. The unusually large size led the team at first to think they had found remains of a species unknown to science, or perhaps still surviving somewhere in these remote mountains. It was only after scientific analysis that the first layer of the mystery was revealed. This claw belonged to a moa, a giant, flightless bird that had been extinct for hundreds of years. What do you think about a moa claw still having intact soft tissue and skin after thousands of years? Is this simply the result of the cave's unique preservation conditions? Or could it mean the moa survived much longer than we thought? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The moa was once a giant bird that dominated New Zealand's terrestrial ecosystems, with multiple species ranging from individuals barely 1 meter tall to the giants of the genus Dinornis, which when standing upright could exceed 3.6 meters in height and weigh over 200 kilograms. Unlike most other bird species, the MOA had no wings at all, having completely lost the ability to fly through evolution, but it possessed extremely powerful legs with large, sharp, sturdy claws that allowed it to dig, defend itself against predators, and move swiftly through dense forest terrain. Before humans arrived, the only predator capable of taking down a moa was the Haast's eagle, the largest bird of prey ever known, with a wingspan of up to 3 meters and talons nearly as long as those of a tiger. However, when the Maori arrived around the 13th century, the moa's survival balance was quickly broken. They were hunted for their meat, eggs, and feathers, and their habitat was drastically reduced. In just about 2 centuries, moa populations plummeted, and according to archaeological evidence, the species became completely extinct by the 15th century. This is why the discovery in 1986 of a claw still containing intact soft tissue caused such a sensation, forcing scientists to question whether the official extinction date of the moa was truly accurate. The claw was discovered deep inside a dark limestone cave, damp yet with a light and stable airflow. Its position, far within the mountain, had shielded it from sunlight temperature fluctuations and the effects of strong water flow factors that normally accelerate decomposition. When brought into the light, the specimen astonished researchers. About 33 centimeters long, strongly curved, encased in thick dark brown skin, with tendons still clearly visible as if untouched by time. Without prior knowledge, anyone might mistake it for part of a giant bird of prey that had died only days earlier. Radiocarbon dating revealed that it belonged to a large moa species and was over 3,000 years old. This discovery not only elevated the scientific value of the specimen, but also proved that soft tissue and skin can survive for millennia, provided they are kept under ideal preservation conditions. The most mysterious aspect of the Mount Owen claw is its almost perfect state of preservation, a phenomenon that has astonished both scientists and the public. Normally, soft tissue is a type of material that decomposes very quickly after the death of an organism, lasting only a few days or weeks under natural conditions. Yet this claw has retained its rough skin, tendons, and collagen structure for over 3 millennia. Studies show that the limestone cave environment at Mount Owen brought together a series of unique factors that froze the decomposition process. The temperature remained consistently low due to the cave's high-altitude location, preventing bacteria and mold from thriving. The cave's humidity was naturally balanced, moist enough to keep the tissue from drying out and crumbling, yet not so damp as to cause rotting. In addition, natural ventilation shafts created a constant gentle airflow that reduced moisture buildup, an important factor in limiting the growth of decomposing microorganisms. The cave environment was also completely sealed and isolated, preventing animals or insects from disturbing the specimen and shielding it from outside weather conditions. However, even considering all these factors, the claw's level of preservation still far exceeds normal expectations. Many other ancient biological remains found in similar environments are significantly degraded, while the Mount Owen claw seems almost frozen in time. One intriguing hypothesis is that the unique mineral composition of the surrounding limestone, combined with naturally occurring antibacterial compounds in the cave, may have created a natural mummification process for the skin and tendons, a phenomenon previously unrecorded by science. If this hypothesis is confirmed, it would not only explain this unusual preservation, but also open new research directions into how natural environments can preserve soft tissue for thousands of years. The discovery of the Mount Owen claw is not only a valuable archaeological biological artifact, but also opens up a series of unanswered questions. Could there still be caves hidden in other remote mountain regions of New Zealand that contain even more intact moa remains, perhaps even with preserved internal organs? If confirmed, this possibility could change our understanding of the species' extinction timeline. Some scientists have even hypothesized that the moa may have survived much later than the officially recorded 15th century date, existing quietly in areas rarely visited by humans. In addition, the question of genetic potential is of great interest. Does this soft tissue contain DNA of sufficient quality to decode the entire genome or to serve future de-extinction experiments? Although fully sequencing the genome remains a challenge, the Mount Owen claw is currently regarded as one of the most promising sources of genetic material for future research. Scientifically, the Mount Owen claw is a vivid testament to the extraordinary biological preservation possible in cave environments, a natural laboratory we are only beginning to understand. Culturally, it serves as a direct, tangible link between modern humans and the pristine ecosystems of New Zealand before human arrival. The image of that giant, rough, yet almost living claw has become a symbol of both nature's grandeur and the fragility of species under human impact. Located at the southern tip of Jamaica, Port Royal was once the most bustling hub of trade and piracy in the Caribbean during the 17th century. Nicknamed the wickedest city on earth, it was a gathering place for infamous pirates, wealthy merchants, and daring adventurers. But on the morning of June 7th, 1692, a violent earthquake combined with a tsunami caused 2/3 of the city to sink into the sea within minutes. Amazingly, many parts of Port Royal still lie almost perfectly preserved on the seabed today, as if time had been frozen at the moment the disaster struck. This has made it an invaluable time capsule for archaeology, while also fueling stories of lost treasures that have remained undiscovered for centuries. If you had the chance to dive and explore Port Royal, a city preserved almost perfectly underwater for more than 300 years, would you focus on uncovering the daily life of its past residents or hunting for the lost treasures? Share your thoughts in the comments below. At around 11 a.m. on the fateful day of June 7, 1692, Port Royal shook violently as a powerful earthquake struck without warning. The city's water-saturated sandy foundation, built on a narrow spit of land, quickly succumbed to soil liquefaction, causing massive structures weighing hundreds of tons to slide into the sea as if swallowed by some colossal force. In less than a few minutes, more than 33 acres, including streets, homes, warehouses, taverns, and churches, vanished beneath the waves, along with hundreds of lives. Survivors recalled the horrifying sight they watched as entire buildings slid into the water, with roofs and windows still intact before disappearing completely into the murky mud. This sudden collapse, combined with the burial of entire structures in thick seabed sediment, created the extraordinary preservation that still amazes archaeologists today, a 17th century city seemingly frozen at the very moment it was swallowed. What astonishes archaeologists most about Port Royal is the almost unreal level of preservation of what has lain beneath the sea for more than 3 centuries. When diving down, they encounter stone-paved streets still seamlessly connected, untouched by erosion. In taverns, tables and chairs remain exactly as they were on the city's last day. Even small personal belongings still rest on shelves, as if their owners had only stepped away for a moment. This marvel stems from rare preservation conditions. Thick, oxygen-deprived seabed mud completely halted biological decay, allowing wood, fabric, and even paper to survive far beyond their normal lifespan. The rapid burial within seconds during the earthquake created a natural seal that kept structures intact, and the location in a sheltered harbor reduced wave and current impact, limiting erosion. Thanks to these factors, Port Royal has become a true underwater snapshot of the 17th century, something rarely seen in maritime history research. Among countless artifacts, standouts include a pocket watch stopped precisely at 11:43 a.m., believed to mark the moment the earthquake struck, delicate glassware still perfectly intact, flintlock pistols, daggers, and Spanish coins reflecting a society both commercial and violent, and wooden household items extraordinarily preserved by the anoxic environment. It is a vivid testament to nature's ability to freeze time. Port Royal was not only famous as the bustling trade hub of the Caribbean in the 17th century, but also as the gathering point for an immense volume of pirate plunder from across the Atlantic. From gold, silver, and glittering gemstones to luxury goods like Eastern spices, fine silks, and exquisite porcelain from Asia, all were often brought here before being sold on the black market or legitimized through official ports. The earthquake and tsunami of 1692 sent all of these riches to the bottom of the sea, leaving behind an enormous yet invisible treasure, whose quantity and exact location remain a mystery to this day. Some old records even mention Henry Morgan's treasure, belonging to the legendary pirate who once served as the governor of Jamaica, but no trace of it has ever been found. Many European merchants are believed to have stored vaults of coins and valuable goods in large buildings now buried deep under thick, compacted seabed mud. Divers have occasionally discovered chests of Spanish copper coins, but most remain out of reach due to the risk of collapse and the complex underwater terrain. Although modern diving technology has unlocked part of this hidden world, many areas remain inaccessible, continuing to fuel endless legends about the Port Royal treasure, a dream shared by daring treasure hunters and historians eager to decode the past. Today, Port Royal is one of the few sunken cities recognized as an underwater archaeological heritage site of global significance. The Jamaican government enforces strict protection measures to prevent illegal exploitation and ensures that all research activities comply with international preservation standards. Official excavations conducted by the Institute of Nautical Archaeology USA in cooperation with the University of the West Indies have recovered thousands of artifacts from ceramics tools and weapons to personal belongings, helping to reconstruct a vivid picture of social, economic, and criminal life in the 17th century. However, many parts of the city remain off-limits due to the risk of collapse and unstable geological conditions. Artifact recovery requires preservation in situ or immediate treatment to prevent damage once brought to the surface. In particular, discoveries involving precious metals are rarely made public, both to avoid attracting illegal treasure hunters and to safeguard the site, protecting the secrets Port Royal has kept for more than 300 years. In Jamaican folklore, the tragedy of Port Royal is seen not only as a natural disaster, but also as a manifestation of divine punishment. In the 17th century, the city was infamous throughout the Caribbean for its drinking, gambling, prostitution, violence, and as a haven for notorious pirate gangs. Contemporary clergymen did not hesitate to denounce it, claiming that such indulgent and sinful living was the very reason that invited God's wrath, turning the earthquake and tsunami of 1692 into a sacred form of retribution. Though blending elements of religion and legend, these stories have draped Port Royal in an air of mystery, transforming the sunken city into a place of irresistible allure, one that sparks the curiosity of archaeologists and captivates travelers drawn to history and adventure. Today, Port Royal is not only an archaeological site, but also a bridge between history and legend. This sunken city preserves vivid evidence of nature's ability to freeze time, with every street and every artifact seemingly halted at the moment of disaster. At the same time, its yet-to-be-found treasures remain a flame that fuels human imagination. Every archaeological dive here is not just a search for artifacts, but a journey back in time, touching both the glory and the darkness of a city that once ruled the Caribbean. Amid the majestic mountains of ancient Greece on the southern slopes of Mount Parnassus lies a place once considered the navel of the world, the Oracle of Delphi. This was not only a sacred site dedicated to Apollo, but also a religious, political, and cultural center of the entire ancient Greek civilization. For centuries, kings, generals, merchants, and commoners alike traveled treacherous roads to come here, all for one purpose: to receive prophecy from the Pythia, the temple's high priestess. What made this place one of history's greatest enigmas was not only the influence of its predictions, but also the mysterious trance state of the Pythia, a phenomenon steeped in mysticism, yet provoking modern scientific curiosity. What do you think about the Pythia's mysterious trance? Was it a supernatural gift from Apollo, or simply the effect of natural elements like gases from the Earth? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, the Pythia was regarded as the direct spokesperson of this powerful god. According to legend, Apollo granted her the ability to see the future, but only when she entered a special trance state. During the ritual, the Pythia would sit on a three-legged tripod, positioned directly above a fissure in the earth, holding a laurel branch, Apollo's sacred symbol, her eyes fixed deeply on the void. From that moment, she would begin to speak. in broken cryptic phrases as if they came from another world. Ancient records note that the Pythia's voice would change completely deeper, more urgent, and at times resonating with an unusual rhythm, making listeners feel the undeniable presence of a supernatural force. Every word she uttered was carefully recorded by the temple priests beside her, then interpreted and transformed into a prophetic message for the inquirer. What made the Pythia legendary was that many of her prophecies astonishingly matched later events, reinforcing the absolute trust of the entire ancient Greek world in the voice of Delphi. One of the most fascinating mysteries of the Oracle of Delphi is the question, what caused the Pythia to enter such a strange trance state? Since ancient times, historians such as Herodotus and Plutarch have recorded that directly beneath the Pythia's tripod seat was a fissure in the earth, from which rose the breath of the earth, something the Greeks believed to be the breath of Apollo, carrying her into a state of direct communication with the god. In the minds of the ancients, this was a sacred experience where the boundary between human and divine became blurred. However, modern science has offered a different perspective. In 2001, geologists and archaeologists discovered that the temple was built precisely at the intersection of two geological fault lines where natural gases could seep from the earth. Among these was ethylene, a gas that when inhaled in low concentrations can induce euphoria, lightheadedness, and even hallucinations altering perception. Interestingly, ethylene was once used in 19th century medicine as a mild anesthetic capable of relaxing the body and causing a loss of spatial and temporal awareness, remarkably similar to ancient descriptions of the Pythia wide eyes, altered voice, and speech that became strange and mysterious. Although the ethylene gas hypothesis is supported by many scientists, numerous questions remain unanswered. One of the biggest issues is gas concentration. Was the amount of gas escaping from the fissures strong enough to induce a trance, yet still safe for the Pythia? Modern studies show that such a concentration would have to be maintained with extreme precision, something unlikely to occur naturally. Moreover, the Pythia's trance was not always consistent. Some sessions were intense, while others seemed faint, suggesting that gas emissions may have varied seasonally or depended on other factors such as religious rituals, psychological state, or mental training. Some cultural historians even suggest that the phenomenon resulted from a sophisticated combination of natural gases, sacred music, drumming, chanting, and deep breathing in an enclosed space which amplified the effects of ethylene and guided the Pythia's mind into a state of communion with the divine. One of the longest-standing debates about the Oracle of Delphi concerns the accuracy of its prophecies. Most were delivered in vague, ambiguous phrases, open to multiple interpretations, depending on the listener. The most famous case is when King Croesus asked the Pythia whether he should attack Persia, and she replied, "If you cross the Halys River, a great empire will fall." Croesus believed this referred to Persia, but in reality, it was his own empire that was defeated. From this two schools of thought emerged one holds that the Pythia truly possessed the ability to foresee the future, but the gods deliberately conveyed their messages in riddles to preserve secrecy. The other leans toward the idea that the prophecies were in fact skillfully shaped by the temple priests based on existing political and military information, ensuring that whatever the outcome, the statement could still be interpreted as correct. For centuries, the Oracle of Delphi held a central role in the spiritual life of the Greeks, serving as the place where every city-state sought guidance before making major decisions. However, under Roman rule, and with the rapid spread of Christianity, the Pythia's influence began to wane. By 393, CE Emperor Theodosius III, as a devout Christian, issued an order to close all pagan temples, bringing an end to the oracle's activities entirely. Notably, some records suggest that even before this decree, the voice of the Pythia had already weakened significantly, possibly due to geological changes reducing the release of ethylene gas or shifts in ritual practice that diminished the trance effect. This gradual fading only deepens the mystery surrounding a phenomenon that once shaped the very course of ancient Greek history. Today, though, it now remains only as ancient ruins clinging to the slopes of Mount Parnassus Delphi still radiates a unique allure. Visitors can feel the cold wind sweeping through the Pleistocene Valley and almost hear the distant whispers of prophecies that once determined the fate of nations. The mystery of the Pythia's trance is a rare intersection of science history and myth, where theories about ethylene gas, sacred ritual music, and spiritual power coexist. Whatever the true cause may be, the Oracle of Delphi created a unique form of communication with the gods, both a religious belief and a political tool, and remains one of the most captivating enigmas of the ancient world. Stretching like a scar across the barren heart of Jordan's Desert Shebib's wall, or Khatt Shebib, is a structure so long, so enigmatic, that it seems to challenge the very logic of ancient engineering. Over 150 kilometers of stone, weaved through sand and rock, yet the wall is barely a meter high, offering no clear clue to its true purpose. Was it a boundary, a hunting tool, a silent monument to power? For generations, it has resisted every explanation, standing as a riddle carved into the land, a whisper from a forgotten people that refuses to fade. What do you think the Shebib's wall was really built for? Was it a territorial boundary, a hunting tool, or an ancient symbol of power? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Shebib's wall stretches for over 150 kilometers, beginning in the Wadi al-Hassa area in the south and ending near Al-Jaffa in the north, forming an impressive line that cuts across the arid desert landscape of Jordan. This wall does not follow flat terrain, but winds along rocky slopes, crosses dry valleys, and traverses rugged stretches of land, showing that the ancients skillfully took advantage of the natural landscape to reduce construction effort. What is particularly surprising is its average height of only about 1 meter and width of 5,100 centimeters, a complete contrast to typical Middle Eastern defensive walls, which are tall and thick to provide strategic advantage. Moreover, the wall is not continuous. Many sections have collapsed, leaving only low stone foundations, and in some places, just scattered rows of rocks. However, thanks to satellite imagery and aerial surveys, researchers have been able to piece together the entire picture, revealing a structure that almost runs unbroken across the desert, enduring for millennia despite time and harsh conditions. Khatt Shebib was built entirely from sandstone and basalt, utilizing locally available materials, demonstrating the advanced stone quarrying and transportation skills of the ancient inhabitants. The stones were stacked without mortar, yet remained sturdy enough to withstand centuries of harsh winds and sand. Along certain sections, archaeologists have discovered circular or oval auxiliary structures ranging from a few meters to several tens of meters in diameter, which may have served as temporary shelters, food storage areas, or livestock enclosures. What is particularly striking is that the entire length of the wall lacks large fortresses, watchtowers, or fortified gates, features considered fundamental in any military defense system. This absence only deepens the mystery surrounding the wall's true purpose, forcing theories to move beyond the framework of traditional defensive structures. The unusual combination of modest height, simple structure, and the complete absence of defensive features such as watchtowers or fortresses has made Khatt Shebib one of the most difficult structures to explain in Middle Eastern archaeology. Over a century of research has produced a series of hypotheses, yet none have been convincing enough to gain full scholarly consensus. This wall is like an ancient message, left undeciphered, with each approach opening a different vision of the life and mindset of the people who built it. Some archaeologists believe it was a defensive structure against intrusion. According to this theory, the wall may once have marked a territorial boundary and acted as a barrier to prevent nomadic groups or hostile forces from crossing. However, at only about 1 meter high, it would not be enough to stop humans or large animals. Furthermore, the absence of forts and watchtowers makes this hypothesis even less plausible. More moderate opinions suggest that if it had any defensive role, it was likely a psychological deterrence or a declaration of control rather than a fully functional fortification. Another explanation sees it as a territorial boundary and resource management tool. In a harsh land like Jordan, where water and grazing lands are extremely valuable, defining boundaries to protect and manage them would have been essential for survival. The wall could have served as a durable marker line, helping tribes maintain order in resource use and limit conflicts. A more intriguing theory links Khatt Shebib to desert kite structures, stone traps shaped like kites once used in the Middle East to guide and herd wild animals into enclosures. If this theory is correct, the wall may have been used to channel herds toward hunting areas. In that case, it would be one of the longest hunting-related structures in ancient history. However, no direct archaeological evidence has yet been found to prove this connection. Many scholars lean toward a ceremonial or symbolic power hypothesis. Constructing a wall hundreds of kilometers long in such a hostile environment would require immense organization manpower and resources. This could have been a way for a group or leader to demonstrate authority and influence similar to monumental works in other civilizations, a stone and time declaration that we are here. Finally, there is the multi-purpose hypothesis. Khatt Shebib may have gone through multiple phases of use, serving different roles at different times. It could have started as a territorial boundary, later adapted for grazing hunting or community rituals. The existence of auxiliary structures along its length supports the idea that this was a dynamic site adapted and transformed through many generations. All these hypotheses remain speculative, and each, no matter how reasonable, leaves gaps that cannot yet be filled. These very gaps have turned Khatt Shebib into an alluring enigma, drawing scientists to continue their search for answers amid the scorching sands of Jordan. Researching Khatt Shebib is a challenging task, not only because of its massive scale, but also due to the harsh natural conditions of the Jordanian desert. Daytime temperatures can exceed 40 degrees Celsius, accompanied by hot winds carrying fine sand that has continuously eroded the stone surfaces for thousands of years. As a result, many sections of the wall have almost completely collapsed, leaving only low stone foundations or scattered piles of rocks. This erosion has caused the permanent loss of details about the wall's original structure, construction techniques, and exact age. For decades, ground surveys revealed only fragmented portions, making it nearly impossible to visualize the entire structure. It was only when the Apami project employed aerial and satellite imagery that the full length and shape of Khatt Shebib were confirmed. Modern technology has opened new hope for solving this mystery, but to reach a definitive answer, in-depth excavations and detailed analyses remain indispensable. Even though its purpose remains uncertain, Shebib's wall is invaluable for understanding social organization and resource management among ancient Middle Eastern communities. It reflects long-term strategic thinking, showing that the builders had the capability to mobilize manpower and resources in a harsh environment. More than a century of research has yet to yield a definitive answer. Was it a border wall, a hunting device, or a symbol of power? Or were all these roles true at different points in time? The answer still lies buried beneath the scorching sands of the Jordanian desert, awaiting the discoveries of the 21st century. When speaking of the Aztec civilization, most people immediately think of grand temples, colorful religious ceremonies, or fierce warriors. Yet hidden within their cultural life, music played an irreplaceable role, especially instruments made from bone, a material both humble and deeply imbued with spiritual meaning. The discovery of bone instruments with Aztec-style craftsmanship in Texas is a surprising archaeological event, raising numerous questions about cultural exchange, manufacturing techniques, and most importantly, their true purpose in the spiritual life of the past. In your opinion, how did these bone instruments make their way to Texas? Were they brought directly by the Aztecs through trade and migration, or were they crafted by local artisans who learned and adapted the Aztec style? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. The Aztec-style bone instruments found in Texas reveal a remarkable level of craftsmanship, despite being made from simple, primitive materials. They were often fashioned from animal bones, such as deer leg bones, wild turkey wing bones, and in some rare ceremonial cases, even human bones. The makers seem to have carefully selected straight, hollow, and durable bone pieces before proceeding with precise processes of drilling holes, smoothing surfaces, and sometimes carving decorative patterns. Many artifacts bear geometric engravings, religious symbols, or abstract motifs strongly associated with the Aztec style, showing that they were not merely musical instruments, but also works of art imbued with symbolic meaning. In particular, the placement and size of the drilled holes were meticulously calculated to produce a wide range of sounds, from deep resonant tones to high-pitched notes, sometimes imitating the wind or animal calls. This reflects the maker's deep understanding of acoustics, transforming each bone flute into not just a musical tool, but also a medium for recreating the sounds of both the natural and spiritual worlds. The discovery of Aztec-style bone instruments in Texas is particularly striking, given the great geographic distance from the heart of the Aztec Empire in the Mexican highlands. Their presence raises significant questions about the connections between indigenous communities in the southern regions of North America and the Aztecs. Were these artifacts brought along during migrations or long-distance trade journeys, or were they the creations of local Texas artisans inspired by and learning techniques from the South? Archaeological evidence from various regions shows that before Europeans arrived in the New World, there existed extensive trade networks that exchanged not only goods such as precious stones, feathers, and salt, but also knowledge-crafting techniques and cultural symbols. If this hypothesis is correct, then the bone instruments in Texas stand as vivid proof of a complex and profound cultural interchange where music became an invisible bridge linking worlds separated by geography. In Aztec civilization, music was not merely a form of entertainment, but a central element in religious and ceremonial life. During sacrificial rituals, harvest festivals, war rites, or rain-invoking ceremonies, the sound of bone instruments served as an invisible thread connecting humans to the supernatural world. Bone flutes often produced deep, resonant, and lingering tones, sometimes likened to the cry of the soul, transforming the ceremonial space into something both mystical and haunting. Notably, some artifacts found in Texas still bear traces of red pigment, likely cinnabar, a mineral the Aztecs regarded as a symbol of blood and life. This suggests that these instruments were not only tools for producing sound, but also part of a visual ritual where symbolic red hues and mysterious sounds intertwined to create a sacred atmosphere, stirring the faith and reverence of those present. Bone is an organic material that decomposes easily, especially in the hot, humid, and variable climate of Texas, so the survival of these instruments in intact condition for hundreds of years is considered extremely rare. Some artifacts are so well preserved that researchers can almost exactly recreate the sounds they once produced, offering the opportunity to hear melodies that echoed in ancient ceremonies. Thanks to 3D scanning and microscopic analysis, scientists have not only identified the precise drilling, polishing, and carving techniques, but also inferred how ancient people held, played, and controlled the tone. Notably, the recreated sound has a quality unlike modern instruments, both mystical and distant, evoking the feeling of being transported back to a time when music and ritual were united as one. The greatest mystery surrounding the Aztec-era bone instruments found in Texas lies in the many questions that archaeologists have yet to answer with certainty. The first question concerns their true origin. Were these artifacts brought directly by the Aztecs during trade expeditions or migrations, or were they created by indigenous tribes in Texas who adopted Aztec techniques and styles? If the latter is true, it would mean that cultural influence from the South spread far more widely and deeply than previously believed. But how could they have accessed and mastered such complex crafting techniques? The second question involves their role in local society. If these instruments were the result of cultural exchange, were they used in the same ritual contexts as in the Aztec heartland, or were their meanings transformed to align with local beliefs and traditions? The third question is about their symbolic significance. The carvings and engravings on the instruments show strong parallels to Aztec religious symbols, yet also feature purely local motifs from plains and desert cultures. This suggests the possibility of a cultural hybrid where symbols were reinterpreted to harmonize two distinct worldviews. All of these issues are made even harder to decipher by the silence of written history. There are no direct records of an Aztec presence in Texas. Scientists are forced to rely on physical artifacts, scientific analysis, and informed speculation to reconstruct the past, yet every answer seems to open up even more questions, like an ancient melody that never truly ends. The Aztec-era bone instruments found in Texas are more than archaeological artifacts. They are living witnesses to an age of cultural convergence, when music was a common language, transcending geographic and ethnic boundaries. They tell us stories of refined craftsmanship, deep spiritual belief, and above all, questions that have never been answered. Each sound recreated from them today is an invitation to travel back in time and hear the echoes of ancestors. Yet no matter how far science advances, there may always be a part of the mystery that cannot be decoded, the part that resides in the hearts and minds of those who made them centuries ago, in a land where music and ritual were one.